Good afternoon, everyone. I will now call this meeting of the California Strategic Growth Council to order. And Matt Reed from SGC Staff Council will lead the roll call. Matt.
Thank you. Director Acefa?
Here.
Public Member Frank Cardenas?
Here.
Secretary Crowfoot?
Here.
Deputy Secretary Jameson?
Here.
Sarah Eisen?
Here.
Deputy Secretary Sasha Kurgan?
Here.
Public Member Nicole Capretz?
Here.
Counselor Juan Sanchez Munoz?
Present.
Deputy Director Radhakrishna?
Present.
Deputy Secretary Musavi?
Present.
Anyone? No. We have a quorum.
Great. We have a quorum. Matt, could you share today's public comments procedures?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for everyone joining us today, whether in person, online, or by phone through the Zoom webinar platform, or where the meeting is being live streamed on SGC's YouTube channel or Cal EPA's live webcast. I'm here to provide some information to help guide us all through the process for this hybrid meeting, which we have designed with the intention of maximizing access by members of the public. For those joining the webinar via Zoom or by phone, please note that your microphone is automatically muted when you join. In order to minimize the risk of background noise, you will not be able to unmute your phone yourself. For those joining online via Zoom, please note that the webinar platform does not enable video for attendees, so we will not be able to see you. If you need technical assistance during the meeting or have a question about the meeting process, there are a few ways to contact us. If you're using the Zoom webinar, the best way is the Q&A function, which several members of the team are monitoring. If you've joined by phone and you have access to email, please email sgc.info@sgc.ca.gov. If you do not have access to email, you may text or call 916-634-3359. If you plan to make in-person public comment, you must fill out a comment card provided at the table near the back of the room. Please fill out the comment card to indicate your name and the item on which you would like to comment. Please bring your card to the table to my left at the back of the room with the sign for collecting public comment cards. When the chair opens the public comment period for the item, we'll read the names of those that have submitted forms for that item, and you'll line up at the podium when I ask you to do so. When it's your turn to speak, I will call your name to the podium, and you will have 2 minutes. If you plan to make remote public comment, you must be joining the meeting via Zoom, either through your desktop or phone. To make a public comment, visit sgc.ca.gov/meetings and complete the comment form linked there. You need to complete separate forms for each item on which you wish to speak. You may complete a form at any time during the meeting. When the chair opens the public comment period for your item, we'll read the names of those that have submitted a form for the item. When you hear your name, please raise your hand. To do this online or in the Zoom webinar, click the raise hand function under the participants menu. To raise your hand by phone, press *9. When it's your turn to speak, a member of our team will unmute your microphone. If you're online, you will see a window pop up alerting you that the host is unmuting you. You will need to click the option to approve unmute, and after that, you can begin your comment. If you're on the phone, you'll hear a recorded message alerting you that the line is unmuted. Please begin your comment after you hear the recorded message. If you're unable to complete the online form but would like to make a comment, please email sgc.info@sgc.ca.gov. Each speaker will have a maximum of 2 minutes to make their remarks. Speakers requiring or using translation services are allotted 4 to facilitate full participation. A timer will be screen shared. Please monitor that timer and wrap up your remarks accordingly. Whether you are online or by phone, you will be notified when your time is up. And after that, we will mute your microphone. You do not need to take any additional action once we mute your microphone. Thank you for all your participation, and I will hand it back to the chair.
Great, thanks, Matt. So we'll move to item 3, which is the approval of the February 20th, 2024 meeting minutes. I want to remind council members you need not have attended these meetings to vote, but you could abstain if you choose to. We'll have an opportunity for council discussion followed by public comments if there are any. So with that, Matt.
Thank you. I want to alert the council and the members of the public that there was a minor correction made to the minutes, non-technical, just reflecting a typographical error. So the meeting minutes that are in front of you are the corrected version. The corrected version has been posted online and is available at the back of the room. If that's it, and
thanks.
Otherwise we can move to a vote.
Any discussion from council members? So can I have a motion and a second to approve the February 28, 2024 meeting minutes?
Move approval. Second.
Secretary Crawford and Vice Chair Cardenas, second.
Thank you. Take a roll call vote. Director Acefa,
Yes.
Public Member Cardenas,
Yes.
Secretary Crowfoot,
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Jameson,
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Musavi,
Yes.
Deputy Director Radhakrishna,
Yes.
Chancellor Munoz, Public Member Capretz,
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Kurgan,
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Azan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. So moving on, I would like to call Lynn Blanco-Klibert, Executive Director of SGC, to provide the SGC Director's report, and sitting from her desk because she's in crutches.
Thank you, Director Acefa, and thank you for that accommodation. I appreciate it. So good afternoon, council members and members of the public. Just wanted to start by saying Happy Earth Week to everybody. So I'd like to open today's Executive Director's report with a land acknowledgement and start by acknowledging that California Native American tribes, tribal communities, and Indigenous people are the original stewards of the land and the waters of what we now call California. And I acknowledge that I am on the unceded territory of the Miwok and the Nisenan people, and that I honor Indigenous people past and present and those who are with us today. We thank Indigenous people for their stewardship and will continue to work to recognize and prioritize tribal and Indigenous communities and knowledge through our work. And as an organization, we have put into practice the idea that land acknowledgements at this council meeting should also include a commitment to action. And in today's meeting, we are so excited to bring forward a new pilot program that was designed in partnership with California Native American tribes and tribal serving entities to support some of the priorities of those participating in this program. Now, this pilot program which will cover more in section item number 6, is designed to specifically support tribes advance their climate goals in a way that works for them. And so we are so excited to roll out this pilot program in partnership with the recommended awardees and a commitment to continuing to learn from this new program and new series of partnerships. I would also like to share that we'll have a special guest with us today in this meeting. Chachi Ramirez is a filmmaker who is creating a documentary video for the Housing Authority of the County of Santa Barbara and is telling the story of one of the affordable housing sustainable community projects, which was awarded for the city of Guadalupe. And so he will be in and around picking up film and wanting to capture what it's like to be in an SGC council meeting. Okay. So I was very excited to introduce new colleagues that we have at the Strategic Growth Council. So first, we're very excited to welcome Vicki Waters, who is the sorry, that is the wrong title up there. She is the Deputy Director of Communications for the Office of Planning and Research, and we'll be working very closely with our communications team across the whole OPR and SGC. Also excited to introduce Nicole Cartwright, who is the Transformative Climate Communities Program Manager, Catherine Foster, who actually joined us a little bit ago, but we didn't catch her on the last meeting, who is the Community Assistance for Climate Equity Senior Analyst, and also Arslan Gariev, who is UC Davis Humphrey Fellow, who will be spending the next 6 weeks with us working on the energy investments portfolio. Now, for my first update, I wanted to talk about the grant management solution that SGC and OPR purchased and invested in over a year ago. We just met our 1-year mark, and we have made significant progress that I wanted to share with this body today. So since purchasing the software, we have now launched 15 applications across 9 separate grant programs throughout OPR and SGC. We have received 788 application submissions from applicants, onboarded 219 administrators, program staff, and interagency reviewers. And over the last year, this system has already received 350,000 clicks across this platform. I like to look at this and think about all of the efficiencies that we're making in the system and to think about how those clicks are not in Excel. So across our organization, our staff, as they've been going through this process, have been working closely with the submittable team to streamline our process for the applicants, for the agency reviewers, and also for all the program teams and administrative teams that work together to make sure that these programs are implemented well. For Strategic Growth Council, specifically, the Community Resiliency Center, the Regional Climate Collaboratives, Tribal Capacity Building Pilot, all use the grant management system for their application intake and will also benefit from the grant administration, management, and monitoring as they progress. We're also working actively to add the historical data from all the previous rounds of Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities, Transformative Climate Communities, and Climate Change Research Program. And this will help support us with reporting and monitoring, and we'll have for the first time captured every award made by SGC since program funding started in 2014 in this system. So we'll be able to use this information to help us report more efficiently and effectively and be able to show how we're meeting the components of our strategic plan. And as we continue to move through this next phase, we'll continue to update this council. Next slide. So I wanted to share just some updates from our Regional Climate Collaboratives Round 1 Awards site visits. So this month, the council and staff visited 2 regional climate collaboratives from the Round 1. In these site visits, the staff visited the 2 tribal-led collaboratives, which are both located in the Southern California area. So on April 8th, the staff and council member Cardenas, thank you for joining, visited the ancestral homelands of the Fernando Tativan Band of Mission Indians in what is now the city of San Fernando. They joined the tribe and all of the partners that make up the 2030 Resilient Networks Collaborative for a site visit of the Rudy Ortega Senior Park and visited 2 sites for potential community resiliency centers. And during this visit, the partners shared about their collaborative efforts thus far and discussed opportunities for SGC to help support their continued success. On April 9th, the staff attended a day-long strategic planning session at the Pala Band of Mission Indian Reservations with the collaborative partners for the Tribal Climate and Energy Collaborative, which includes 25 tribes that are members of the Southern California Tribal Chairmen's Association. I also wanted to give a heads up that the CASE staff are planning an in-person peer learning convening for the Regional Climate Collaboratives Round 1 grantees, and this will take place April 30th in Sacramento. This will provide an in-person opportunity for the collaboratives to connect, share best practices and lessons learned, and also to meet with philanthropic funders who we have invited to attend and network with the collaboratives. And I do need to share that earlier this month, Governor Newsom and the legislative leaders did sign an early action budget agreement to address the state's budget shortfall. And as part of this agreement, the round 2 of this funding was reverted back to the general fund. So as you may remember from the statute, we are required to administer a round 2 of the regional climate collaboratives by 2030. And so we'll continue to work with the administration on opportunities to fund this at a later time. Next, I'd like to provide an update on the Connecting Communities initiative. So as you all recall, this is an initiative that we launched over the last couple months to help really proactively and strategically connect those who have applied to SGC applications to federal and other additional resources. So our first focus was on the US EPA, Environmental Protection Agency Community Change Grant Program, which has over $2 billion in current funding and was modeled after SGC's Transformative Climate Communities program. So SGC and our technical assistance provider Horn are supporting 6 current Transformative Climate Communities Round 5 applicants apply for this grant. And as of today, 4 of the applications have been submitted and are requesting the maximum amount of $20 million each. And 2 applications are expected to be submitted in May for a total of $120 million in applications that are submitted into this federal program. Now, we're not stopping there, though. So concurrently, Horn is developing the next cohort of applicants to receive technical assistance, and the next cohort will include TCC rounds 1 through 4, implementation and planning grantee awards and applicants, RCC grant applicants, Community Resiliency Center grant applicants, and other SGC partners that submitted a landscape analysis survey and attended Horn's informational webinar in February. So as more applications are submitted, and fingers crossed, awards received, we'll continue to share back with this council the outcomes. So the other thing that I wanted to share today is that in addition to providing direct support to SGC applicants, we're also receiving requests by external stakeholders like city governments and nonprofits to partner on federal grant applications that require or could benefit from a state partner. And so this offers just an additional level of support that we believe we can provide to connect communities to resources. In June, we will be bringing forward to this council a more comprehensive discussion on a strategy of how to approach these partnerships, as well as where to focus our ongoing technical assistance resources, and also which grants to, thank you very much, that's great. And also which grants we want to be actively seeking for SGC. Okay, moving forward, virtual power plants. So just over the last couple of months, we worked through a process of releasing a request for proposals. And I am so excited to share that SGC has entered into a memorandum of understanding to establish a public-private partnership to leverage federal funding, specifically through the U.S. Department of Energy Loan Program offices, in order to implement distributed energy resources as virtual power plants. This will be located at sites and facilities supported by SGC and council member programs. Now, I'm so excited to share that King Energy will be our partner and collaborate with SGC and eligible sites to enhance this resiliency of supported facilities while contributing to the overall reliability and sustainability of the grid. This project will provide benefits to eligible SGC member agency-supported sites in the forms of increased energy resilience with the addition of solar and storage solutions, improved grid stability through the operation of a virtual power plant, reduced energy costs, and the potential for compensation on the use or lease of project site space. So we will be kicking this off in the coming days, and the initial focus will be on the SGC Community Resiliency Centers, as well as the CDFA Fairground project, and we'll continue on from there. So I do just want to share that, this agreement truly represents innovation in terms of financing, policy, and potential outcomes, but also in terms of the expertise of our contracting and procurement team in-house, who helps us build something that is compliant with state rules and also sets us up to be the first in the nation partnership solution. So I want to give a special shout out to Blake Deering and the procurement and contracts team for really making this possible. And finally, on April 22nd, Earth Day, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency announced 60 selectees that will receive a portion of the $7 billion in grant awards through the Solar for All grant competition. And this is really designed to deliver residential solar projects to over 900,000 households nationwide. I'm excited to share that California received a $250 million award, and a portion of this will be implemented by SGC in coordination with partners at the California Energy Commission, California Public Utilities Commission, and the California Employment Development Department. Just a special thanks to the iBank, who facilitated the development of the state's successful application. And with that, I thank you for the time, and I will now pass it back to Matt Reed for a review of our public comment procedures.
Thank you. If anyone would like to submit public comment on this item, in person, you may submit via card to the staff waiting at the back of the room or online at sgc.ca.gov/meetings. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Lynn. I will now initiate council comments. Before I do that, I just want to recognize we have a tribal leader in Scott Thorpe. Thanks for being here. Scott is CEO of the Northern Chumash nonprofit organization. I'm not sure if there are any other tribal leaders present here. So with that, I will open it up for council discussion on the director's report.
Director Acepa?
Yes, Secretary Crawford.
Well, thanks so much, and thanks for another great executive director's report. So much happening, and also appreciate your evolution in the acknowledgement of tribes and how that is manifesting in the agenda today. At the Natural Resources Agency, we're proud of a lot of our recent shared progress, and I wanted to share two announcements that were made this week that are relevant to the Strategic Growth Council and all of our work to combat climate change. One was the dedication of California's first state park in a decade at Dos Rios in Stanislaus County. The governor and the first partner were there celebrating with community groups and conservation organizations at this remarkable place, which is at the confluence of the San Joaquin and the Tuolumne River. It's a part of the state, the Northern San Joaquin Valley, that doesn't have enough parks and open space, certainly not enough state parks. It's also a part of the state that's going to get increasingly hot as a result of climate change. And so having a park at the confluence of these two rivers ultimately will give local communities access to get on these rivers. Also, the park serves as multifunction flood protection in that it allows for seasonal inundation of the natural floodplain. And so over the last couple of seasons, as this land has been restored from agricultural production to a more natural area, it's actually taken on floodwaters and protected downriver communities, particularly the city of Stockton, which is really flood vulnerable. So we're really excited within our agency to support state parks, part of our agency to kick off the state park. This will be, I believe, the first state park that is founded with a commitment to doing everything in a bilingual manner, given the large portion of Californians that live in that region that speak Spanish. So both bilingual staff as well as everything written in Spanish and English. So from our perspective, it's really a model of our new state park approach, multifunctional, culturally inclusive. So we're really excited about that. Also on Earth Day, our agency, in partnership with the Department of Food and Agriculture and the Air Resources Board, launched California's first ever nature-based solution targets. So in California, we lead the world in so many ways on climate action. Got really strong targets. We've got this transition underway on transportation, energy, buildings, but we haven't done enough to integrate the role of nature in these targets. And we know that healthy lands, forests, farms actually can absorb carbon through that carbon cycle, absorbing carbon dioxide, releasing oxygen. We learned about that in school. Unhealthy lands actually release carbon pollution and emissions. And right now in California, our lands are a net source of carbon emissions. Think wildfire smoke. And so these nature-based targets, 81 of them across 8 landscape types, are all focused on reducing the pollution and the emissions coming off our lands and moving our lands to become a sink or a net absorber of carbon. And that's really important because we have this target, and actually it's a state law over the next 20 years to achieve net zero carbon or carbon neutrality. We're going to continue to maintain economic prosperity. We're going to build economic opportunity, and we're going to do so moving beyond fossil fuels and achieving net zero carbon. And so our lands actually absorbing more and more carbon is really critical to that. So in a state with so many carbon targets already, or climate targets, I'm really excited that we're filling this sort of important piece of the puzzle. And then the third and final update I would give is just the fact that our agency had its first comprehensive summit on equity and environmental justice, where we gathered leaders from across 26 departments with community-based organizations and leaders from across the state, primarily to listen and learn from communities around where our agency can do better, actually achieving these critical principles. And at that event, or at that convening, we were actually able to share our first equity year in review, where we're holding ourselves accountable across 26 departments to actually account for how we're changing the work that we do, both internally and externally, whether it's funding, programs, policy, but also hiring and internal systems to really achieve a California for all. So I'm really excited with this, and given the SGC's leadership in this area and the fact that we use this as a platform to share best practices with each other, I'm excited to share this with you. And for those joining in person or online today, this Equity Year in Review 2023 is available on our agency website. And I want to thank my colleague who serves as my alternate for this, Nowaki Schwartz, our Deputy Secretary for Equity and Environmental Justice, who spearheaded this effort. So thank you so much, Chair, for the opportunity to provide those updates.
Thank you, Secretary Crawford, for making that connection around sort of the abstract work that we do here, sitting here, reviewing grants and approving grants, seemingly like piecemeal fashion, because one item on the agenda. But it's so important always to be reminded of the connected aspect of all of the work that we do here. And thanks for your leadership in that, you're not only your agency, but cross-agency collaboration to make sure that a lot of the solutions or the problems that we're trying to solve, whether it's climate or equity or access to public spaces are all interconnected. They're not solved by single actions. It is really important to continuously see that as part of our work. And for me, I think one of the great legacies of this, especially this council, is it is so uniquely positioned to be able to actually connect the dots from agriculture to environments to nature-based solutions. So it's always important to be reminded of that. And thanks for bringing that up. I just want to do a quick comment and sort of thanks, Lynn, again for your report. The grant management system, I think, it seems like a bureaucratic stuff, but it is so transformative for government. You won't believe how much a difference it makes, not only for the agencies that are actually working and reviewing, actually for the people that we serve, the people who actually on the other end. The constant complaint that we hear is it is so difficult to go through the maze of government bureaucracies when you're applying or managing or contract. So it is really a game changer. So it's great to see that internally. And again, you emphasized about site visits. We've talked about that at SGC again and again. For the reasons that Secretary Crawford was talking about, it is important for us to get out and see the work after it is implemented here and meet the people who are actually making it happen on the ground. That's where you see the full connected impact of a lot of the work that is done, through this office. So thanks for highlighting that, and I look forward to a lot more engagement in the coming years to actually be out there and see, hear, and touch the projects that actually result out of these, bureaucratic council meetings that we have here. So thanks for pointing that out. And then welcome to all the new additions to SGC and OPR. It's an exciting 2024 is going to be the best year ever. Don't believe the budget challenges, they're real, that there is an amazing amount of investment already in place that in this administration especially, and we have a lot of work to do, and I'm really excited about sort of 2024 for SGC. Anyone else?
Chairman, just a quick, if you will indulge me, just to amplify Secretary Crowfoot. I actually heard about the event and the dedication. I heard about it in English and in Spanish, and unfortunately, I had a conflict. But I was actually contacted our office by the First Lady and invited to participate. And but it reached all the way further south in the valley with great enthusiasm. And I think that not only that kind of dedication and the consideration of the language and the culture and the people, I think you may have understated how important it is for working class people for whom this is still an affordable way to enjoy nature in a place where often when you bring your families together of a certain size, it's very hard to do at a professional sport or event and what have you. And for somebody who grew up Sunday at the park, and the scarcity of the parks, particularly in the part of the state that you're referring to, I think the importance can't be stated enough. On Friday, we inaugurated on our campus. I'll be a bit proprietary now. The first ever Arbor Day, and planted I think 22 trees, I think, and dedicated them to different groups on campus that help serve the campus, whether it's the academic senate or undergraduate students. And the only point I'm trying to make is when you have this kind of dedication of a park after so many years, and you do it in a way that's sensitive to the people that you want to take advantage of the park, a population that's growing in the state, when you have these events on our campus and young people see on our campus as part of their education that we are also required to be stewards of the environment, as adults, as professionals, as bankers, as teachers, as et cetera, then they will be even further dedicated to the preservation of what you're trying to do, Wade. And so again, just all these things happening in our state at a time when it's simple to focus on less hopeful and optimistic themes. This is hopeful and optimistic. And again, this was just one campus, but was placed in this part of the state for a very specific reason. And we have, as my understanding, we still are the only carbon neutral research university in America. And when you come to that campus and that's part of your education and you see this kind of event and you hear of these kinds of dedications, again, the hope is that at 18, 19, 20, 24, you become a 48-year-old that is very differently cognizant of how all of these things relate to one another in the way that the chairman just described. And so, again, I just wanted to remind us of, as you have already, Chairman, just how many good things are happening in our state.
Thanks, Chancellor. Any other comments? If not, we will move to public comments if we have any, Matt.
We have one virtual public comment on this item and no in person. The virtual public comment is John Witchell. And John, if you're on the Zoom, if you could raise your hand. John, are you with us?
I am.
There he is. John, you may begin your public comment.
Thank you. Hi, my name is John Witchell. I am the CEO of King Energy. I'm the new partner for the VPP project. And I just wanted to dial in and take a moment to express my gratitude on behalf of my entire company for allowing King Energy to contribute to the Strategic Growth Council VPP project. We believe that this VPP project will benefit all California citizens by providing a measure of safety and comfort during times of climate stress. And equally important, we believe that the program represents another step forward in California's continued renewable leadership and innovation. And lastly, I just wanted to take a moment to thank the entire SGC staff and leadership. We found the entire team and selection process to be professional, well-managed, and easy to work with, and we're grateful for all the hard work. We look forward to the next phase of the process, and we're excited to do our part in this terrific, innovative project. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, John, and we look forward to the partnership with King Energy. I think this is an incredible opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
That concludes public comment on this item, and I'll pass it back to you, Chair.
Great, thanks. We'll move now to item 5. I'm excited about this one, which is an action item to approve the Community Resilience Center's Round 1 project development and implementation awards. And I would like to invite Lynn again, as well as Deputy Director of Community Investment and Planning, Amar Sid, CRC Senior Analyst, Anna Jane Jones, and CRC Associate, Jess Cervantes.
Before we begin,
to present this item. And then we'll have, this time, we'll have public comments first, followed by council discussion.
Before we begin, Chair, I believe that Public Member Capretz has something that she needs to say on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for Matt for helping me with this. As members of the council know, my day job is with Climate Action Campaign, and we participated in the CRC submission on project development. So out of an abundance of caution, I'm recusing myself from this vote to award.
Great, thanks, Nicole.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Really excited today for our Community Resilience Center's Round 1 Project Development and Implementation Grant Awards. As a reminder, this is a continuation from our meeting earlier this year where we started the award process and we did award and recommend the planning grant. So again, continuing on with this first round, really excited to have our Community Resilience Center's program team in the audience. Just a reminder, this is a small and mighty team that has worked really difficult kind of deliberation processes, but really meaningful work across the team. I want to give a really great acknowledgement to the team. We have Dora, we have Jessica McCool, Jessica Cervantes, Anna Jane Jones, Jen, and then our former colleagues that helped start this program when it was a team of two, Coral Abbott and Lisa who were really integral in our community engagement and outreach portion. And so today, again, we welcome the recommendation for awards and the celebration of how meaningful these awards are going to be, especially during Climate Week. I think it's telling how important and how exciting folks are about this.
Is it? Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Okay, starting again. Good afternoon. Hello, all. My name is Anna Jane Jones, she, her pronouns, and I am a senior program analyst for the Community Resilience Center program. I will start us off on item 5 for the council meeting agenda, which is the CRC Round 1 Project Development and Implementation Grant Award recommendations. Today, we will briefly cover the program background, application review process, and the recommended awards. Next slide, please. Next slide. Great. As a reminder, this program was established by Senate Bill 155 in 2021 to fund the creation of community resilience centers, which are community centers that can be activated to provide a space both for emergency response efforts and long-term resilience programming. Our program funds integrated projects led by multi-stakeholder partnerships with representation from community-based organizations and local residents. We prioritize projects located in and benefiting under-resourced communities. The program also prioritizes funding projects in diverse geographies across the state, inclusive of both rural and urban communities in incorporated and unincorporated areas. CRC received a $110 million allocation for round 1 through the general fund. Funding for future rounds has been moved to a proposed climate resilience bond. Next slide, please. Of the $110 million, our 2023 NOFA made $98.6 million in grant funding available across 3 grant types. Planning, with $5 million available for awards between $100,000 and $500,000. Project development grants with $9.6 million available for awards up to $5 million each, and implementation with $84 million available for awards up to $10 million each. Next slide. The 3 grant types fund applicants at distinct project phases. Planning grants are for applicants who are exploring their ideas for local resilience centers and need to conduct preliminary needs assessments or build capacity. Project development grants are for applicants who have an identified site requiring basic infrastructure and pre-development investment. Implementation represents our largest grant award and are for applicants with a project site, local partners, and a specific plan to build climate and community resilience. Due to an unprecedented volume of applications, the CRC team used a phased approach to review applications. As you know, we have already reviewed and awarded the planning grant applications. We are now in our final stage of awards for project development and implementation grants. Next slide, please. This entire process began last April when the CRC Round 1 final guidelines were adopted. In May, Council adopted the Round 1 CRC Notice of Funding Availability, or NOFA, making $98.6 million available for our 3 grant types. Next slide. Both project development and implementation grant applications involved an extensive review process, which included application completeness and threshold checks, an interagency review phase, and for implementation grants, a scored staff interview for top scoring applicants. Next slide. With that background, we will now move on to awards recommendations, starting with the project development grant. CRC received 28 total project development grant applications, requesting approximately $70 million in funding.
26 of these passed the initial completeness check and program threshold review, advancing to the interagency panel review. The average application score ranged from 45 to 89 points out of a total of 93 points. This produced 4 top scoring applicants with a total request of nearly $9 million. Next slide. CRC staff are recommending the City of Banning, Community Action Partnership of Kern, Little Manila Rising, and the California Parenting Institute for award. Next slide. All 4 proposals recommended are located in and benefiting AB 1550 designated low-income communities and SB 535 disadvantaged communities, meaning they all benefit CRC priority communities. One proposal, the Community Action Partnership of Kern, is located in a rural community, and the Southwest Santa Rosa Roseland Community Resilience Center is located within an unincorporated community. The awards are distributed throughout the state, with 2 awards in Cal OES Fire Rescue and Mutual Aid Region 5, 1 award in Region 2, and 1 in Region 6. We will briefly summarize each application in the coming slides. Project summaries are also included in Attachment A for Item 5 of the Council materials. So we are beginning with our top scoring project development grant application, the City of Banning's Banning Armory Community Resilience Center project, which has requested $1.07 million in funding. This project will fund a facility needs assessment, electrical work, and capacity for the continued development of a robust collaborative stakeholder structure. Next slide. Located in rural Shafter, the Shafter Youth Center will address community needs while prioritizing medical care and energy efficiency. $988,752 in grant funding will support facility development plans, project designs, permitting, energy infrastructure pre-development, as well as community engagement and workforce development planning. Next slide. Little Manila Rising's Community Resilience Project will begin to transform an existing building in South Stockton into an anchor community facility. The $1.9 million in requested funding will support infrastructure upgrades as well as community engagement efforts, including the development of training, communication plans, and data monitoring systems. Next slide. And lastly, the California Parenting Institute's Southwest Santa Rosa Roseland Community Resilience Hub will support pre-development for a CRC in unincorporated Santa Rosa County. The $5 million in funding will strengthen CPI's organizational capacity, facilitate community engagement, and fund the design and launch of a leadership academy. The proposal also includes critical utility infrastructure upgrades. I will now pass it to my colleague Jessica to present the implementation grant recommendation.
Thank you, Anna Jane. My name is Jessica Cervantes, and I am a CRC Program Associate, and it is my honor to present the recommended awards for the CRC Implementation Grant. Round 1 implementation grants received 74 total applications, requesting a total of about $578 million in CRC funds, more than half of which passed threshold requirements and moved on to interagency review. Of these 48 reviewed, average scores range from 97 to 193 out of 200 total points. The top scoring proposals were invited to partake in interviews with the CRC team, a process which granted an additional 25 possible points as outlined in our Round 1 guidelines. Once scores were totaled after interviews, the CRC staff is happy to recommend funding for the top 9 implementation proposals for a total of about $83 million. Next slide. This is a summary page of the 9 recommended award proposals with lead applicant names, scores, regions, funding requests, and priority community status designation. Next slide. Of the 9 recommended awards, 6 are in and benefit AB 1550 designated low-income communities. 5 proposals are located in and benefit SB 535 disadvantaged communities. 2 proposals located in and benefiting unincorporated communities, and 3 proposals located in and benefiting rural communities, as well as 1 proposal being led by a California Native American tribe. Across the applications, Cal OES Fire Rescue Mutual Aid Regions 1, 2, 4, and 5, and 6 are represented. Next slide. And we will briefly summarize each one in the coming slides, starting with the Avalon Health Resilience and Access Center. Located in LA County with an award amount of $10 million, this project aims to address climate challenges faced by the South LA County priority populations. Its project area is a low-income, mixed industrial neighborhood with counties facing increasing urban heat island impacts, extreme heat events, and water shortages. Next slide. Located in Alpine County, the Bear Cave Resiliency Operations Center is located on tribal lands in a largely unincorporated and rural part of the region. With an award amount of $10 million, this project aims to address critical needs for this isolated community, which faces challenges from wildfires, earthquakes, extreme heat, floods, and more, while maintaining independence and sovereignty over its programs and its land uses. Next slide. Located in San Diego County with an award amount of approximately $9.9 million, the projects in the Ramona Community Resilience Campus were designed to meet priority population needs in the face of climate hazards and other emergency events. This project aims to provide a secure, convenient, and accessible multi-benefit space for community members to congregate safely before, during, and after emergencies. Next slide. Located in Contra Costa County with an award amount of $10 million, Harbor Hall aims to build climate resilience enrichment and will provide energy access, assistance, and resources to the community during disaster emergencies, post-recovery, and year-round. Next slide. Located in the County of Nevada with an award amount of $10 million, Nevada County's 2 veterans halls have served surrounding communities by hosting meetings, classes, and shelter to residents during extreme weather events. Both structures are centrally located within their communities, are in highly need of updates to address health, housing, and food needs in times of emergencies. Next slide. Located in San Diego County with an award amount of approximately $8.5 million, Casa Familiar Inc. envisions La Semilla to serve residents during climate and emergency events and provide programming and services year-round that will empower residents to address air pollution, extreme heat, drought, energy use, and other climate and community risk. Next slide. Located in Madera County with an award amount of $10 million, the Hope Center aims to build a culturally responsive multicultural resilience hub where its space and services can build long-term community resilience and be a model for sustainable practices for the county and other regions. Next slide. Located in Riverside County with an award amount of $10 million, the Coachella Community Resilience Center aims to create a more equitable and climate resilient community by retrofitting the Hidden Harvest building. This Community Resilience Center will prioritize flexibility, sustainability, and accessibility to accommodate all individuals' needs, including the community's priority populations. Next slide. And the final recommended award for implementation grant is located in Sonoma County with an award amount of approximately $4.8 million. This proposal aims to operate a CRC facility in Southwest Santa Rosa, a neighborhood with some of the lowest health outcomes in the county. The Center for Food, Youth, and Community will provide specific job training for youth, and all community members will have access to training for disaster readiness and resources in times of emergency. This concludes recommendations for implementation grant awards. Next slide. At this time, CRC staff are additionally recommending using approximately $285 million in remaining grant funds to reconcile 10 of the 11 previously awarded planning grant projects, bringing each planning award to its full original requested amount. This will enable greatest impact across all 3 grant types. Next slide. Following council approval, program staff will enter a post-award consultation process with each awardee. However, CRC's program staff would like to note that there were many compelling and inspiring proposals deserving of funding. In this first round of funding, the CRC program received a total of 189 applications across all 3 grant types, requesting nearly $700 million in funding, almost 7 times the $98.6 million available for this first round. This number of applications is unprecedented for SGC. The number of applications conveys the deep need for this type of work and funding across the state. Staff is committed to supporting our applicants, awarded or not, in finding other funding opportunities that align with their projects as well as build their capacity to become ready to apply for additional funding sources. This includes exploring possibilities to connect unawarded applicants to the virtual power plants and connecting communities opportunities at SGC. Partnering with the Milken Institute's Community Infrastructure Center team to provide applicants with further opportunities for funding support and project development, as well as exploring federal funding opportunities such as the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Program, among others. Next slide. Ultimately, CRC staff recommend $93.6 million in total funding to be awarded to the top 4 top scoring project development applicants and the top 9 scoring implementation applicants, with approximately $285,000 in the remaining grant funds to be redistributed across planning grant award for reconciliations. Thank you all. And next, following Matt's reminder and public comment, we would like to turn it over to Chair Acefa.
Thank you. If members of the public would like to comment on this item, please submit a public comment card at the table in the back of the room. To make virtual public comment, please visit sgc.ca.gov/meetings and complete the public comment form. I will now pass it back to Chair Acefa.
Sorry. We have a large number of people present, so we'll move to public comments first, and then we'll have council discussions after.
Thank you. We have 17 in-person public comments, and we have 4 virtual public comments. We're going to begin with in-person public comments, and I'm going to read off the first 3 individuals that we have signed up, and if you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium in the order that I call your name so we can do this expeditiously. First, we have Mayor Stephen Hernandez from the city of Coachella, Scott Lathrop from the Yaktichu Tichu Talini Northern Chumash Band, and Ken Queener from the Washoe Tribe of Nevada and California. If you could come up, and Stephen, Mayor Hernandez, you may begin your public comment.
Thank you. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the Strategic Growth Council. For the record, we support staff's recommendation. As you know, Coachella and climate change are at a unique intersection, I should say. On the one hand, we are a beautiful desert community and a beautiful desert people, very hardworking, bilingual, agricultural, low socioeconomic, pero con muchas ganas. On the other hand, we have climate change that has arrived, and it is drastic. We have more days of extreme heat over 115. We have Hurricane Hillary and droughts and tropical storms, extreme wind events, sand, flood events, fires, the Salton Sea, as you are very, very aware, and bad air quality. For us in Coachella, this is about how do we prepare our residents for climate change. It's not only meeting the immediate emergency, such as how do you respond to an emergency, but doing so in a manner that prioritizes our people, that prioritize their survival in an emergency. Over the long term, this is about giving them the skills and giving them the needed human capacity to survive long term. We believe that for us, it's about human and social capacity. This is about human and social capital, building human and social capital. We believe that the center will act as a unified response with humans first, the government second, but we really need our people to lead the efforts of how to deal with climate change. We also believe that there needs to be economic development opportunities. How do we survive in this constantly changing world where we're an agriculturally based community and things may change? Water and drought is more and more apparent. This is about sustainable partnerships. It's about bottom-up iterative processes that are multi-generational. And we need to also recognize that in Coachella, we have tribal partners. We have 4 tribes that are around us, and this is about them too. So we are excited about this opportunity, about the ability to really create a resiliency center that for the rural and suburban communities, the state of California can be very proud of. Thank you for your time, and thank you for this program.
Thank you, Mayor Hernandez. Confirming Scott Lathrop actually wants to speak on the next item, so we'll go next to Ken Queener. Ken?
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Ken Quiner, the Emergency Manager for the Washoe Tribe of Nevada and California. Chairman Smokey and Hungalalti Community Chairman Ellis said their regrets that they were otherwise committed and could not attend today. The Washoe Tribe of Nevada and California greatly appreciates being recommended to receive the California Strategic Growth Council's Community Resiliency Center Implementation Grant. These funds will allow the tribe to establish the Hungalalti or Southern Band of the Washoe community's Tabacanga or Grizzly Cave Resiliency Operations Center in Alpine County, California. Hungalalti is located in a rural area of the eastern Sierra Nevada mountain range. It is prone to wildfires and extreme weather events. Our vision of the Resiliency Operations Center is to create a merging point for all of the Washoe tribe's resiliency enhancing programs to provide shelters and resources during climate-related and other types of emergencies, and to facilitate the year-round community services that build community resiliency. Establishing the Hungalalti Tabacanga Resiliency Operations Center will allow the Washoe Tribe to achieve sustainability, equity, economic prosperity, and quality of life for our tribal community. Our project development team would like to convey their special appreciation to the professionalism and highly personable CRC implementation team and tech assistance team. It's been a great project and we appreciate this nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next in-person public commenters are Morcott Wee, Dylan DeLuce, and Denise Delgado. If you could approach the podium, please.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Morcott Uy with the Green Lining Institute as their program manager for capacity building in Stockton. The Green Lining Institute is a racial justice policy organization, and my work specifically focuses on supporting under-resourced communities in Stockton to develop the capacity to lead on their own transformations. Little Manila Rising is one of the key partners that I have been working with and supporting for the past few years. I am very excited to hear staff's recommendation to award Little Manila Rising with a Community Resilience Center's project development grant and very strongly support Little Manila Rising's project proposal. With an identified site in the heart of South Stockton holding cultural and historical significance to the community, Little Manila Rising is uniquely positioned to operate a community resilience hub. Little Manila Rising will be able to continue holding their year-round community building programs spanning education, environment, redevelopment, and public health, and will now be able to expand their operations to provide supportive services to residents during extreme weather events, including heat waves, poor air pollution days, and flood emergencies. Thank you again to staff for your hard work and funding recommendation for Little Manila Rising's Community Resilience Center.
Thank you. Dylan DeLuce.
Hello, Council. My name is Dylan Delvo, and I am the Executive Director of Little Manila Rising in South Stockton. On September 7th, 1961, at the Stockton City Council meeting that determined the fate of whether or not Little Manila and Chinatown would be leveled to make a freeway, Emiliano Aguinaldo, a Filipino farm laborer, wrote on a comment card, quote, "We need better jobs, not vacant lots. With our extra spending power, the owners of the hotels and restaurants will have to clean up their act to compete for our extra dollars." His argument was to counter the argument that destruction was the only solution to blight. It was one of hundreds of cards like it. And on that day, the city council decided to destroy, just like they decided to destroy the Black community of Boggs Tract in Stockton years earlier. And together our communities would be destroyed and displaced to redline South Stockton, which would be the home of marginalization. The decision would also to create a culture of nihilism. I grew up there and remember asking an old-timer field worker who was a part of the early farm labor movement, "Can we do anything to change things?" And he said, "It doesn't matter. They'll do what they want to do." I harken back to Aguinaldo's statement because in that comment card, he actually had a real solution that would have made a difference. This funding will help us to create community empowerment with real voting rights. We are still healing from racist public policy and the use of state and federal funds, specifically to destroy our communities. This funding will also help us to build a center to house our staff who are conducting in-home visits to mitigate asthma attacks, train our youth advocates, planting trees in South Stockton, providing mental health services, strategizing for local health equity, and so much more. It'll allow us to make our second floor accessible to the public, which will allow us to host climate and green technology, green economy workshops, strategize and plan with our local allies to plan to climate, for climate and other challenges, and do a bunch of other amazing things. And so we thank you, SGC staff, for this recommendation and faith in us. We look forward to continuing partnership with state agencies who understand the harm of their predecessors and align their professionalism towards the healing of these harms. Thank you.
Thank you. After Denise Delgado, we have Goyo Ortiz, Annabelle Grimm, and Scott Schumann, if you could please line up.
Good afternoon, Council. I am Councilwoman Denise Delgado from the City of Coachella. The City of Coachella is a very special place where our workforce is largely made up of agriculture with a median income of $35,000 annually, disadvantaged and underdeveloped. We are a united community that deeply cares and is there for one another in time of need. And that is why I'm here to ask for the approval of the recommendation of a $10 million award for a CRC disaster preparedness facility and year-round services. These services will provide our residents a place to shelter, receive medical care, healthy meals, and the ability to cook food through a shared kitchen and grow produce with dignity and in a safe facility while receiving free services from the housed nonprofit organizations. A healthy and clean environment is vital to our community, and reducing carbon pollution is at the forefront to further advance our quality of life. Providing sustainable energy through transportation and solar panels will help us meet that goal. This funding will allow a demographic primarily resided by English language learners, a workforce development that includes jobs, education, and training, a necessity that provides our residents and small businesses the ability to provide for themselves, their families with livable wages, benefits, and the tools to succeed. I want to wholeheartedly thank the Strategic Growth Council and staff, our multiple partners, our 4 tribal nations for working with us, for believing in us, and allowing us to continue to thrive and prosper. We are humbled and grateful for the opportunity you have provided us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Goyo Ortiz.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Goyo Ortiz. I'm the Community Development Choreographer at Casa Familiar. We're a community agency in the border community of San Isidro, less than a mile away from the San Diego-Tijuana border. San Isidro has been heavily impacted by air pollution from the border, around 60,000 vehicles daily crossing each way. So we're honored to be recommended for the implementation grants. As the project we're developing is La Semilla, as the name counts, is set to be the seed for future work in environmental justice for San Isidro and the South Bay community of San Diego. This also allowed us to solidify partnerships that have been established with other community members, tribal members, local authorities, and our local MPO to establish micromobility options, shared ride, EV charging stations, educational programs, youth workforce development and environmental justice, as well as to be a storefront for environmental justice in the community. This project was developed in partnership with the community of San Isidro, and we're very grateful for this opportunity. I also wanted to just take a quick moment to acknowledge the CRC staff. I may look like a seasoned veteran in CRC grant applications, but it was a very complete application, and the TA provided and the office hours was very helpful in this process. So we're honored to be here to share with all these other communities and continue the work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next 3 speakers are Annabelle Grimm, Scott Schumann, and Amalia Rodas.
Good afternoon. Thank you, council members. My name is Annabelle Grimm, and I'm the general manager at Chico Area Recreation and Park District. I'm here today to address a critical concern regarding the CRC grant award recommendations, particularly the interview process. This is following our denied appeal. While recognizing the immense effort invested in evaluating applications, I must highlight the inherent subjectivity that can skew outcomes, inadvertently perpetuating inequities. The CRC program, anchored by AB 211, emphasizes the necessity to prioritize projects reflecting statewide geographic diversity. This mandate extends inclusivity to both rural and urban communities, as well as incorporated and unincorporated areas, aligning with the program's philosophy of equitable distribution of funding throughout California. The CRC program, with its geographic diversity funding target across California Fire and Rescue Mutual Aid regions, is a testament to this commitment. Furthermore, the scoring criteria provision adds points to applicants from rural and unincorporated areas, acknowledges the systemic barrier these and our communities face. However, recent interview outcomes seem to have compromised the very essence of these programmatic goals. While I do not question the merit of the programs recommended, I am deeply troubled that the interview process may have inadvertently contradicted the program's foundational principles. My request is that you please review the process, how the process impacted the distribution of resources, and reconsider the awards. Region 3, our region, only received planning grants that equate to less than 1% of the available funding. We were the only region to receive no implementation grants, despite the competitive nature of our application. Conversely, another region is slated to receive over 30% of available funding. I understand the gravity of my request, and to reconsider staff recommendations. It's not a decision we've taken lightly, yet it is imperative to safeguard the integrity of the program.
Thank you. Your time is complete. May we have your final thought? Thank you. Our next commenter is Scott Schulman.
Hello, my name is Dr. Scott Schuman. I hold a PhD in Parks, Recreation, and Tourism with a background in research, survey instrumentation, psychometrics, which is the study of social science, instrumentation, validity, and analysis. I also happen to be the Director of Parks and Facilities at the Chico Area Recreation and Park District. It takes a lot for me to get out of my boots and hat and put on a suit, but I'm here today. I'm here because I believe this board to be an independent governing body of the SGC with decision-making authority to direct staff and ensure appropriate outcomes from the actions of the council. I have two major points to highlight. CARD's application for the SGC grant was recognized through comprehensive interagency review as worthy of funding, being within the top 8 agencies after the interagency review. However, a subjective interview process followed, which contained validity issues and skewed the ultimate results, specifically based on interview scoring notes provided to us by SGC staff to CARD. One question was scored a 3.5 by an evaluator, and that same question was scored a 2 by another evaluator. In the research and data analysis world, it sounds like there's an inter-rater reliability issue. There's something wrong with that question. To have that large of a gap says that there might be something wrong. Not faulting the evaluator, but one of the evaluators was unable to continue the call and had to drop off due to internet issues. That one rater may have had a bias, which affected the overall score and created a cutoff. This brings me to issue number 2, the cutoff award. The following scores are the point values for scores for the awards 7, 8, and 9. Our award was 10th. 203.83 points, 203.75 points, 203.67, and our score 203.25. Less than 6/10 separates those scores. I assume the closeness of those values does not escape you. In fact, those of you with familiarity in statistics probably already recognized these scores are not statistically significantly different from one another. In essence, they are the same value. Creating any cut point amidst those scores is not a valid process.
Thank you, Mr. Schuman. Your time is completed. May we have your final thoughts? Thank you. Our next 3 speakers are Amalia Rodas, Allison Lehman, and Erica Wolski. If you could approach the podium.
Hello. Hello, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Amalia Rodas, and I am one of the program coordinators for the Community Adaptation Program for the American Red Cross. And I'm here in support of CARD, and we'll be reading a letter signed by our CAP program manager and regional CEO. On behalf of the American Red Cross, we are writing to express our support for the Chico Area Recreation and Park District appeal for the CRC Round Grant 1 program. Due to the growing number of climate-driven disasters across the country, the Red Cross explicitly established community adaptation program where field teams work closely with community partners such as CARD to increase community resiliency and help serve community members that are on the front lines of climate crisis. CAP teams are placed in locations that have high social vulnerability based on CDC's social vulnerability index and high risk based on FEMA's National Risk Index. Due to high vulnerability, history of crisis, and likelihood of future events, Butte County was a key location to establish a CAP program. Additionally, CARD has been instrumental in the development of the Butte Resilience Collaborative. They, along with other local nonprofits, governmental departments, and tribal organizations, are helping to create a county-wide resiliency plan for Butte County with a focus on key areas including food, health, land planning, economic development, disaster preparation, and community/resiliency centers. This Strategic Growth Council funding is essential to advancing the Butte Resilience Collaborative's efforts to develop a welcoming and inclusive plan that elevates the voices of those historically marginalized in the community. And a center would ensure consistent communication, educational programming, and accessible connectedness to the community throughout the year, not only during times of disaster. Thank you so much for your time and for your consideration.
Thank you. Allison Lehman.
Good afternoon. My name is Allison Lehman. I'm the CEO of Nevada County, and I want to thank the council for considering Nevada County as a grant recipient. If funded, these dollars will transform our county's veterans halls in both Grass Valley and Nevada City into modern and functional resilience centers. These centers will serve as vital resources for our community during extreme weather events and disasters. Nevada County is a small rural county that has repeatedly had faced fire disasters and extreme weather events. Over the past decade, the county has been notable increase in these occurrences, including fires, snowstorms, prolonged power outages, severe heat, and cold episodes. Given these challenges, there's a pressing need for local government to need to establish support centers to support displaced residents. Investing in these projects will provide immediate benefits to our community by enhancing our community's preparedness and long-term resilience. These centers will serve as hubs for recovery operations, thereby strengthening our community's ability to respond to recovery in adverse situations. I urge the council's support for this grant as a proactive step towards safeguarding and serving our rural community in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Erica Wolski, followed by 4 individuals, Brandon, Abigail, Azaria, and Markle, and followed then by Sarah Bossi.
Good afternoon. My name is Erica Wolski, and I'm the General Manager of Ramona Municipal Water District. And our application was one of the implementation grants recommended for funding by your staff. I can tell you that every one of the applicants who are running an existing site are struggling and stressed with how to keep their doors open to the already rising costs that are projected to increase as our communities continue to warm. Our district already heavily subsidizes our senior nutrition program, and every month when I get the electric bill, I wonder how much longer we can keep this program alive. But thanks to this grant, you have helped save a critical program for our community and the whole of northern rural unincorporated San Diego County. We know that seniors without social connections are at risk of illness and early death, and by providing solar and additional transit, you are helping us continue to provide social activities, resources, medical supplies, and nutrition to our most vulnerable residents. You have also helped us save our youth agricultural program that in the face of already rising summer heat has struggled with animal illness and death. The new shade and air-conditioned spaces that this grant will provide will improve safety for animals and humans and allow us to better serve our residents with pets and livestock during evacuations. But even more importantly, you allowed us to dream of how our community might operate on a day-to-day basis and in emergencies. Rather than focusing on band-aiding and repairing the bare minimum, you are allowing us to actually expand our facilities and improve them. For this grant, I went out and collected community feedback. And just for an example, I never imagined that we would have needed a shuttle program, but that was one of the feedbacks that I received from people. And I can't believe that one, we got selected, and two, the shuttle program is going to kick off. We announced it on Earth Day on Saturday that we're up for funding. And every day this little shuttle goes down Main Street is just a testament to how meaningful this program is. So again, I want to offer my sincere thank you to both you and your staff for developing this program and selecting us. We are excited to get started, and we cannot wait for you all to come visit so we can show you what an amazing impact you have had in Ramona.
Thank you very much. Would whichever of Brandon, Abigail, Azaria, and Markel are going to speak, please just let us know your last name so we can write it down for the notes. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, Council. My name is Brandon Harris. I'm a representative of Pogo Park, a local nonprofit in a small city in the Bay Area called Richmond. We've been working for 17 years, rebuilding and repairing abandoned parks. Our city has been identified as one of the least prepared for any emergency. So this recommendation of this grant would help us out incredibly by creating a CRC for the neighborhood. So I was just coming out here as a representative to thank you guys for your recommendation, and I hope that you approve it because and we really need it, and we'll do right by it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. The next three commenters are Sarah Bossy, Joyce Matthews, and Amy Gobden.
Good afternoon. I'm Sarah Boss, the Public Health Director for Madera County. Madera County greatly appreciates the CRC Implementation Grant Award opportunity on behalf of the Strategic Growth Council. The depth of the team brought together for the Madera County Hope Center construction project is a testament to the collaborative and resilient spirit of Madera County that I experience daily. This team includes Madera County Public Health, Behavioral Health Services, the Sheriff's Department, CAL FIRE, OES, our local United Way, and many other community organizations and partners that serve as part of our Live Well Madera Coalition. I couldn't be more excited and honored to speak today on behalf of this amazing group of community leaders and community members in Madera County. The Hope Center will expand our capacity to gather community members together for a host of reasons that will leverage the built space. Climate resilience education in the community gardens, such as drought-tolerant planting, vegetable container gardens, water capture and conservation, hands-on mental health services, often in the garden, climate-forward workforce development, state-of-the-art meeting space for our many resident-led groups, including SWAT, Students Working Against Tobacco, and our Substance Use Disorder Advisory Committee, nutrition education in the demonstration kitchen, using produce from the garden, cottage food production in that same kitchen, opportunities for physical activity on the existing walking trail and parkours that's on the HHS campus where it will be co-located. And of course, cooling and heat sheltering at the center, as well as the first ever 24-hour shelter in Madera County. This is complete with play space for the kids that the parents can observe through glass walls. It's a coordinated center of hope for the community in a space in which there's no other community gathering space in Madera. We believe that the Hope Center will live up to its name, contributing meaningfully to the well-being of disadvantaged communities between and during emergencies in Madera County for years to come. Again, thank you for this opportunity and your consideration.
Thank you. Next speaker is Joyce Matthews.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jarius Matthews. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a co-founder and director at Edge Collaborative. Within our work at the Edge Collaborative, we are a civic incubator partnering with public, private, and nonprofit organizations to tackle systemic economic challenges across Stockton. And one of the organizations that we've been partnering with over the past 5 years is Little Manila Rising. So the nature of the relationship that I have with Little Manila Rising is helping them unpack and tackle some of the challenges associated with project planning, real estate acquisition and due diligence, and understanding how to unlock creative sources of capital for the type of community climate resilience center that they'd like to create. And throughout the time that we've had together, I've not only observed their grit and integrity in all of the work that they've done, but also just how smart and strategic they have been with the limited amount of resources that they've had, turning lemons into lemonade. So I just wanted to thank Little Manila Rising for the opportunity to endorse and support the work that they do publicly, and express my gratitude for allowing our organization to partner with them, and my commitment to being an ally and a friend to their organization. And I want to say thank you to the Strategic Growth Council for their consideration in this historic investment into both Little Manila Rising and the South Stockton community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our final 3 in-person speakers are Amy Gobden, Catherine Couch, and Tony Scott, if you could approach the podium.
Hi, my name is Amy Cobden. I am here from County of Nevada. I'm the grants coordinator. And I just wanted to say or give a huge thank you to staff for the tremendous amount of work that you do. I wrote the application and helped to develop it. I can only imagine what it took to go through all 74 applications and 18 hours of recorded interviews. So thank you for the recommendation and for your hard work. I just want to say as well that this kind of work and the work that you do to the council is the kind of work that makes me so proud of my state, the kind of forward-thinking funding that you support and promote. Earlier, Chair Acefa mentioned the abstraction of what you do. So I would like to extend the bask and glow of our joy that you're creating all across the state of all the recipients of the money that you're funding. For my county, this is going to be an extremely real and an incredibly meaningful project, particularly in the fact that it supports 3 incredible community-based organizations: Interfaith Food Ministries, Gold Country Senior Services, and Aging and Disability Resource Connection. They collectively support tens of thousands of people in our county who are vulnerable in different kinds of ways and in important ways. This funding is going to be supporting our community, not just for the 5-year grant period, but for generations. This is a legacy project for us, and it's going to be allowing the buildings that we built almost 100 years ago to continue supporting us for the next 100 years. And while we understand that there are upcoming budgetary shortfalls in our state, we hope that the goals and vision that Strategic Growth Council supports continue into the future, because the work that you do is extremely important and very forward-thinking. So thank you.
Thank you. Catherine Couch.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for having us here. My name is Catherine Couch, and I'm the CEO for Ceres Community Project in Sonoma County. We're deeply honored to be recommended for a CRC implementation grant. Sonoma County was devastated by wildfires in 2017, 2019, and 2020, forever changing our understanding of climate risks and their impact, especially on our most vulnerable community members. Ceres' new Center for Food, Youth, and Community will be located in Southwest Santa Rosa. This vibrant yet underserved community is home to a largely immigrant population with a high proportion of seniors. A community resilience center was named as one of the most important assets by the community in an engagement survey a couple of years ago. The center will enable us to quadruple access to 100% organic and medically tailored meals for those living with serious, chronic, and complex illnesses, up to $800,000 a year. Educate our community about the vital connection between food and health, empower hundreds of youth each year with job, leadership, and life skills, and provide year-round preparedness and resilience support. The center will be 100% electric, with 60% coverage from on-site solar and a full battery microgrid backup system, enabling us to operate for up to 12 days during power outages. Along with reducing our per meal carbon output by 81%, This is critical for multiple reasons. Ceres is contracted to provide meals to emergency shelters in Sonoma County when they're opened. Hundreds of community members rely on us every week for meals, and this ensures that we'll be able to empower and support the community during power shutoffs and emergencies. Our CRC implementation grant will support completion of a $22 million capital project. In fact, we're going to break ground in September thanks to these funds, and development and implementation of year-round preparedness and resilience support, and a detailed activation plan. Thanks to these funds, we'll be able to break ground in September, which we're really thrilled about. We know that these funds will make a tremendous difference for our community for decades to come, and we're truly grateful to the really forward-thinking work of the council and also to the great support from the staff. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Our last in-person speaker is Tony Scott.
Good afternoon. My name is Tony Scott, and I have the incredible honor to work with nonprofits, governmental bodies, and other organizations to seek funding generously and prudently allocated by state and federal agencies like the Strategic Growth Council. These funds perform transformative work and are needed to improve and protect our local communities, counties, regions, state, and ultimately have us shine as a beacon for the nation. Given the incredible amount of need demonstrated through what staff said today was an unprecedented number of applications, I would strongly urge the council to allocate 100% of the funding available to projects, specifically to implementation grants. I humbly contend that the highest and best use of these dollars, with millions still left unallocated to projects, to support at least one more project, recognizing the profound impact these funds have in our communities. I have the utmost gratitude for your work, your leadership, and your wisdom, and kindly request that you reconsider the recommendations to fund at least one more implementation grant with remaining funds, given the shovel-ready nature of these projects and the immediate transformative impact they will have in communities. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes in-person public comment on this item. We have 4 virtual public commenters. I will read the first 3 virtual public commenters' names, and if you could raise your hand in the Zoom chat so we can identify you and get you ready to give your public comment. I'll read Frank Figueroa, Darren Harris, and Lang Luntao. If you could raise your hand, and Frank, you have the first virtual public comment.
Good afternoon, Strategic Growth Council board members. My name is Frank Figueroa. I'm City Council member for the City of Coachella. And I just wanted to say some few brief comments. Other of my colleagues have spoken already, but the City of Coachella is excited about what we're able to do with this grant. Implementation grant we're being awarded, and being able to see what our city can do for our residents, both currently and how it's going to affect our future residents in the community as we see more and more people come and live here in our city. But we also want to make sure that we're providing those services, and this implementation grant is going to go a long way to be able to support our current residents, our future residents. And I just want to say thank you with the ability that we're going to be able to do with this, and the social mobility that this is going to be able to give. The Coachella Community Resiliency Center is going to be a great impact for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Our next speaker is Darren Harris. Darren, are you with us?
I'm here. Good afternoon. My name is Darren Harris, representing St. John's Community Health, and we support the staff's recommendation. A grant from the California Strategic Growth Council will have a profound impact on the communities of South Los Angeles. South Los Angeles is not just a place. It's a vibrant tapestry of cultural heritage, resilience, and activism. Together, St. John's and our partners are committed to harnessing this rich tapestry to create something truly transformative, a community-driven safe haven for resilience in South Los Angeles. Nestled alongside our existing health and drop-in centers for our homeless, our proposed Community Resilience Center will stand as a beacon of hope and preparation, equipped with the infrastructure and expertise to tackle emergencies, be they climate-related, public health crises, or others. We're building a fortress of resilience right in the heart of our community. But this isn't just about buildings and services. It's about bringing people together. Our center will serve as a hub for collaboration, resource sharing, and mutual support, fostering a stronger, more united community. With a commitment to outreach and education, we aim to touch the lives of thousands annually, reaching out to the most vulnerable households and empower them with the tools to weather any storm. And perhaps most importantly, this isn't another project. It's a groundbreaking endeavor in South Los Angeles, the first of its kind in our community. Our Community Resilience Center represents a crucial step towards recovery and resilience, particularly for our Black and Brown neighbors who have long been on the front lines of adversity. Together, we're not just building a center, we're building a brighter, more resilient future for South Los Angeles. A grant for the California Strategic Growth Council will have a profound impact on the communities of South Los Angeles, and we're immensely grateful and thrilled about this project. The prospect of bringing together our community's rich history, resilience, and collective strength into our one transformative initiatives fills us with immense gratitude and excitement. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Langlun Tao withdrew their request for public comment, so our last speaker is Robin Bowen. Robin, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you. So my name's Robin Bowen. I'm the Executive Director of the Child Parent Institute and also known as CPI. CPI has been strengthening families and helping build community resilience for 45 years through parent education, counseling, and basic needs support. Our campus is located in an unincorporated area of Sonoma County where residents face disproportionate impacts of climate change due to economic instability, gaps in local infrastructure, and the historical impacts of system racism. Our community is also incredibly strong and resilient. It's a place where neighbors historically look out for each other in times of crisis. So with this Strategic Growth Council project development grant and the support of our broad coalition of community partners, we'll begin preparing and positioning our campus facilities and programs to not only respond more effectively to disasters and climate-related crises, but to build resilience year-round in the families we serve in our surrounding community. This grant is making it possible to pilot powerful new approaches in resilience building, such as including a climate-focused resident leadership academy and specialized training for therapists and educators to better understand and respond to climate change impacts, the mental health of children, how climate change impacts the mental health of children and families. We are so grateful and excited to be a part of this historic launch of the Strategic Growth Council Community Resilience Center program. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. That concludes our virtual and in-person public comment on this item. I will return it to you, Chair Seth.
Great, thank you for the public for your feedback and comments. They're very informative. With that, I will initiate council discussion on this item. Secretary Musavi.
Thanks, Secretary Crowfoot was first, but I'm happy to follow on.
But I called you
Please.
first.
All right, I can go for it. Well, I just wanted to start off by saying, yeah, thank you so much to staff for this incredible program. It's so exciting to see it at the phase of implementation. And thank you again for all the public commenters. I find it really exciting to always learn a little bit more about the projects that we're funding here. So thank you so much for coming here today and sharing with us all the great work that you've been doing. I just wanted to I guess, kick off the conversation and acknowledge that just given the number of applicants that we had and the scores that we'd see here, I'm sure this was an incredibly challenging selection process for staff to go through. So kudos to you all for getting us to this point. Given some of the comments we heard, I just wanted to ask about the interview process in particular. I know you touched on it briefly, but if you wouldn't mind expanding further about what that process was like, what went into that process, and how you ensured kind of consistency between between the 25 applicants, because that's I'm sure a large load of interviews to undertake for a small team. So clarifications on that would be super helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Happy to explain our interview process. So the round one CRC guidelines included a 25-point interview as a part of the application process. It was worded as an interview or site visit, but given the number of applicants, we went with a virtual interview. The interview, again, was 25 points. It was divided into 6 questions. All applicants received the same 4 standardized questions. They were provided with those questions as well as a scoring rubric at the start of the interview scheduling process. And they all had a 2-week period or I think a 3-week period to schedule those interviews so they could choose time slots that they were most comfortable with. They were allowed to prepare those 4 questions. And then given the interagency review process and application review, there were some clarifying questions that came out of that deliberation. So we had a 5-point, 2-question portion that was specific to each applicant. Again, the scoring criteria on those were standardized, so it was 2.5 points per question, and applicants were asked to, or rather the scoring criteria there, really just emphasized the clarity of their answer and whether they sufficiently addressed the question, which we felt was the best way to standardize that sort of nuance between applications. I will share that the interview process is a pretty standard portion of applications. We adapted our interview and our interview guidelines based on a number of other programs and consultation with a number of other programs. We had 2 staff attend each interview, but each interview was also recorded. We were able to re-review those. We had staff taking notes during each interview as well. And then we had a deliberation, which really was meant to help calibrate those scores, but they were scored independently prior to that deliberation session. Does that?
Yeah, that's super helpful. And, particularly I'm pleased to hear about the kind of normalizing between the different interviews by having that process at the end. So really appreciate that information.
Secretary Conflict.
Well, thank you to everyone who came from across California to be here today. And for those joining virtually, it means a lot to hear, in your own words, how these community resilience centers will support your communities. I would observe that, in this discussion about the CRCs over the last couple of years, it has at times felt conceptual. Like, what do these look like? How do they function? And as a result, sometimes it doesn't get as much attention as something that feels more tangible, an investment for climate resilience. And I think your voice, your stories here today help us understand just what these centers are and what they would do. So I think we all really appreciate you being here. I think, to me, a couple takeaways. One is that the demand exceeds the supply. In other words, the demand for resources to create these centers exceeds the amount of funding that we currently have. And I think that's an important takeaway here. And I see Assemblymember Eduardo Garcia here, and who's been a major champion of all things community resilience and equitable community resilience. And I think it's a message that our policymakers should know, which is, communities really see these CRCs as important solutions, and yet this tranche of funding doesn't address all of that need. I think it's important for us, to listen when there are applicants that were not awarded or not recommended to be awarded grants, and to hear their concerns. And so my heart goes out to you, given how much time these applications take. At the same time, I think it's important for us to recognize and to support the process that staff has had to score these applications. Our agency oversees or administers about 36 grant programs. And oftentimes, as I review the recommended awards, the difference between those that get the funding and don't get the funding is sometimes almost infinitesimally small. But given that there are limited funds, there is that cutoff and that threshold. So while I appreciate the concerns raised by those applications that weren't successful today, I would be ready to make a motion to support the staff recommendation whenever the council is ready.
Great. Councilor Munoz.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to do my best. I wrote a few notes to sort of guide my thoughts. It'll be related slightly to the Secretary Crowfoot's remarks. So first of all, I recall seeing the map of the distribution of the development and implementation awards. And I remember thinking when I saw the map, how at least geographically dispersed they were across the totality of the state to the extent possible, given the number of awards. And I was particularly pleased to see the number of inland communities that received either a development or implementation grant award. Places like Kern and Banning. I've been Banning. I grew up in Southern California, a little while called Boyle Heights, East LA. And but also places like Sonoma and Stockton. And I appreciate the folks from Coachella. I remember going there very often when I was younger and seeing that community and know it and know how the challenge the last 20 years have been. But also I want to mention a community like Madera, which is I go to the swap, the flea. I don't know if the rest of you shop there. I like the flea, and I go to Sugar Ray Barbecue, right? And you know what I'm talking about. And it's been a hard time in the last year and a half with some issues related to community hospital. And so I know that this is going to uplift the community. And these are communities that, as I think the secretary points out, are rightly deserving, and so many others. And I just back of the back of the envelope math, something like 577 million in requests, almost 600 million, and they're awarding 93 million, which is to say we have 600 million in need, which is probably underestimating the need. And yet you have 93 million to award. And so the process is, regardless of what kind of empirical sort of analytic effort, modeling to be perfectly equitable will be imperfect, because the apparatus, the mechanism of human beings used in the process are unfortunately imperfect. Having said that, I also just want to say how much I appreciate, back to the executive director's comments about not just making statements about serving tribal native communities, but actually doing something about it. And there are awards that do something about it. And again, modest, and some might say anemic, but something, it's something. And I think I want to recognize the director and her efforts, her individual personal efforts, and that of her team to begin to improve those inequities. And so then finally, I will say, and this is a little different than the secretary, I don't want to get into some sort of a treatise or analysis as to sort of inter-rater reliability and different statistical analysis. I appreciate the comment that was made earlier. You'd have to do a whole lot of controlling for variables in order to test that accurately and responsibly, which is why you used qualifying language like may, perhaps, could. I think that's honest and fair. But I'll tell you, the 0.47, 0.42 difference, the statement is, it's the meaning they're essentially the same, is not without some veracity. I would say, and I did some, just again, looking at some of the awardees, and some of the differences are 0.6, 0.06. That's a lot closer. Some of the differences are 0.87. And mathematically, you wouldn't round up 0.42. My point is, we should have a process. I respect the process. I'm going to support the recommendations when the time to vote, but there should be a process that provides a little bit greater difference in terms of qualifying awardees than that number right there, which is less than a single number one. So moving forward, and then I will say, the roundup or the true up of the 200 and something 80 million for the others, which seems like the residual dollars for the planning grant seems fair and equitable and thoughtful. But if there are some funds still are available that we haven't programmed, then if there's not, okay, because then that's a very close number. And I certainly would be much more comfortable with a greater degree of separation between those who are awarded. We would like to do all of them. They're all deserving and awarding, and those who are not in the pool of recipients moving forward.
Go ahead.
If I could just respond to that. I think one of the things that has been so glaringly obvious for us over the last year has been the quality of proposals that are coming in and the quantity of proposals, and then feeling an obligation and essentially to use that information to take that next step. And so I know that you heard at the beginning, the next steps for us will be then to connect in with the Connecting Communities Initiative, because we do want to really take a very concerted effort of helping to crosswalk where there are eligible projects for some of these federal dollars that we know are available, that could serve these needs, that could bring more resources in, so that we're thinking expansively, because it is very, very challenging when we have projects that are so close to then think about what that means in terms of the outcomes.
Lynn, if I may take advantage of your point, and that's exactly what we want. Immensely qualified proposals, ideas, and projects. How do we help facilitate bringing additional resources, revenue, projects, programs to the attention of those very deserving, well thought out and executed proposals and communities?
Absolutely. And I'm just really grateful that we do have the resources in place through the Connecting Communities Initiative to provide that direct technical assistance. And that we now, a couple of months ago, this was more hypothetical, but now we're in the place where we do have nearly 6 applications at the $20 million level that we've helped transition from an SGC application into a US EPA application. And that will be our intention as we move forward with this program as well, is to really find where there are those places where there's enough synergy between the federal requirements and the state program that we can also provide that technical assistance and hopefully fund more of these projects that scored so well, but just didn't meet the cutoff for the money that we had available through the state pot.
Deputy Secretary Cregan.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, staff. This is not an insignificant lift. I'm going to try not to be duplicative in my comments. There's already been a lot of smart things said. I appreciate all of the applicants who step into a new process. That's a certain amount of bravery to take on an application that's never been done before. And so the resounding response from communities around the state shows that there's a significant need for this funding. And I definitely want to thank the Strategic Growth Council and many alums who aren't here today on the staff who helped form this and acknowledge the need. Thanks to everyone who joined today, both those with support and thoughtful, critical comments on how we can reflect and improve. I kind of similar to what Secretary Crowfoot was sharing, I think putting these examples into concrete, real assets within the community has been a powerful component of the comments today. We've heard about existing community buildings and ones that will be built. We've heard about supportive housing and services and food systems, all within an umbrella of climate resilience, really showing the ways that this council works together to consider community needs. And so thanks to all of the staff and all of the input and public comments, which we will keep reflecting on today. Okay, that was the wind up. I do have a few questions for either the executive director or the staff, and it riffs on the chancellor's comments about available funding. And it is in reflection of what the public commenter shared, and also, I believe, the staff recommendation about apportioning remaining dollars to the planning grant component. And so first, big board packet, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. How much available funding was there? How much was remaining before the proposal to pull some into planning as opposed to implementation? And I'm curious how any decisions after that were made related to partial awards. And I think this kind of gets to the question of where we're landing on the implementation. Thanks.
So we had less than $1 million remaining after going through the entire package. So that was looking back at our planning grants. We did have an oversubscription in planning grants when we made those awards. We did make that really difficult decision to reduce the award to allow another project in there. After the project development implementation scoring, we felt that we didn't have enough funds to stretch into a partial award that would make sense for bringing in additional project development or implementation. It just wasn't enough with having less than $1 million to make that partial award. So the recommendation was to then reconcile the planning grants that we actually reduced earlier this year. We know in December, we made a partial award within TCC, which has been very difficult to process. And we're still managing how to kind of reconcile that budgetary space while trying to make the transformative investments happen. And I think that was part of our consideration with not moving forward with a reduction and kind of trying to expand into an additional award here.
Okay, and if we take the staff recommendation, will there be additional program funds that are available? Because there was a comment that there's additional funding that's available, or would this use all of it?
This actually uses the majority of it. We do have about 600,000 remaining, and that actually may go into the post-award process for implementation, or it's a reserve for the evaluation process that we still need to entertain.
Okay, thank you. So I'll keep thinking about that. Last is just on the process improvement point. I think I will appreciate future staff recommendations on how we manage closeness like this in the future in scoring. And also, if I can channel my secretary Moss for a moment, she's asking all of us to think about opportunities in an abundance mindset. And so when I just might offer, when we have scores that are so close, how can we consider sharing while still keeping projects whole enough to move forward? And so there might be some if-then scenarios that we contemplate, even just based on what we've just seen right now, but look forward to future conversations. Thanks.
Great. Deputy Director Radhakrishna, then followed by Deputy Secretary Zant.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start by building off Deputy Secretary Kurgan's comments. As I was reviewing my own public comment from February 28th, I applauded staff on the flexibility of stretching from 10 to that 11th award. And I know that means lowering the amount for everyone. And so here we are in a situation where the overall amount may not seem feasible to be meaningful for a high dollar value for implementation. And there's important questions and points for consideration, from the abundance mindset to fairness to the maximum use of residual funds and stretching dollars to be meaningful. So just want to support my colleagues' comments on the dais and support staff in considering those really tough decisions for future. Overall, what really strikes me from this is the 7 times oversubscription, and thanking Amar and team for ending with the comments that you are committed to supporting all applicants with finding all possible funds. And that's really what we're here to do. So thanks for grappling with those challenges. I'll roll to the positive, which is that our staff was really thrilled to be part of the interagency process, and we were really appreciative of the deliberate, inclusive, and engaged process overall of former and current staff. And this really exemplifies the equity approach of government infrastructure when all of the project development and the majority of the implementation dollar grants are going to those lower income, disadvantaged, and designated low income communities, as well as what we talked about in prior meetings, rural and unincorporated. So kudos for achieving that. This is really not about retrofitting, but it's about future proofing existing trusted sites, which we also talked about. So the Veterans Hall, the youth centers, your building where trust already is to maximize it. So congrats on that. I want to thank all the public commenters from across California, as others have mentioned, because if you take the letter CRC, it's not about the center. It's about community and it's about resiliency. So it is concrete that we see, but the words that stuck with me were Coachella talking about human and social capital, about dignity, about Little Manila and South Stockton, really talking about greenlining and about healing and about empowerment, about San Isidro with seeds for environmental justice, and Madera talking about multi-use, multi-generational hope. Those aren't concrete, those are abstract, but so important in what it's really about. So to see government infrastructure dollars in the words of community driving what we really want, that we need to do to heal and repair from past harms, congratulations on that. And finally, as tribal liaison for my Department of Public Health, it's so important to ensure that tribes have access to this. So congratulations. I know you had set a goal of trying to award 5 tribally led applications. And so doing 4 is tremendous progress and says a lot to your team. And we'll talk about that in future items. So congratulations for all the impressive amount of engagement that you achieved.
I just wanted to add my thanks to staff and also a thanks to all of the commenters who traveled to share the stories and the concrete examples of what you're planning to do if awarded these funds. It's really excellent just to get to hear those specific examples, to really be at the stage of considering these awards of implementation, because obviously the challenges of climate change and the effects that our communities are feeling, they're here, they're on the ground, and people are already experiencing them. And so to the extent, we're able to move these dollars forward and really be able to break ground, to hear that projects are going to be able to break ground in September is just fantastic. And so I also wanted to make sure, just on behalf of Cali PA Secretary Garcia, who I'm sitting in for today, to express her full support and wholehearted excitement for this program. And then also want to just acknowledge again staff. And I know that had some staff from Cali PA who participated in the review process as well. And just really a shout out to that interagency collaboration, as was previously mentioned. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, if I might, thank you. Having been briefed on this particular procurement, I have no discomfort whatsoever with the process here, either in design or implementation. I might suggest, and I think it's been alluded to already, we should get used to increasingly competitive applications for funding and investment, because there's been a lot of discussion here about supply and demand in different contexts, but the need for assistance and for preparation and for resilience capacity building for what we know is coming, what's already here, but what's going to continue to befall us, perhaps exponentially, is mind-boggling. And it's a call to be reminded of some significant headwinds that we're dealing with, both market and political. Perhaps no bank has invested more in clean energy funding since the Paris Agreement than JP Morgan. And then a couple of weeks ago, they sent a strategy letter to their clients suggesting that they should have a reality check, that maybe it's time to pull back on financing clean energy investments around the world. New York State is just the latest to pull back on their offshore wind plans. There's a ballot initiative in the state of Washington who hopes to be our partner in a regional cap and trade program to pull back on their clean energy initiatives in the state of Washington. Troglodytes near and far have transformed from being climate change deniers to climate action disruptors. And we need to realize that. Do I understand that the CRC is being moved from general fund to climate bond if it happens and if it passes? There's yet another area of vulnerability for us.
So at this point, we only have the fund just for round one through the general fund, and then we'll just kind of wait to see what happens in the legislative process as it relates to the climate bond.
Yeah, that for better and worse, we have a particularly a rather peculiar tax system here, as we know, in California. So we're exposed to the ebbs and flows of high wealth, how high wealth individuals and corporations do in the market. Our cap and trade program has been authorized through 2030. There are already people lining up who to want to make sure that it ends in 2030. So my point is, when we speak of supply and demand, that the demand for what needs to happen in communities up and down the state to get ourselves ready for what is coming is only going to increase. The supply of available funding from whatever source, general fund, climate bond, cap and trade, greenhouse gas reduction. This is a call for everyone who is concerned about the availability to get something done, and for our ability as a state to be ready for what we know is coming, to not just advocate for our own projects, but to advocate for more money and for a reallocation and for a reprioritization of the way that we spend our money in the state and beyond. January to January, January 23 to January 24, first time in our history, well, since dinosaur times, that we have had an average global temperature of 1.5 degree higher than pre-industrial times. So that particular goal of the Paris Agreement is already blown. Now, a lot of us knew it was blown the time they signed the damn thing. I believe last month the global average was 1.58 above pre-industrial times. It's no longer the Maldives or the marshes of Bangladesh. It's in Richmond where you need the funding, and you're about to get it. It's in Coachella where they need the funding, and they're about to get it. South LA where we need the funding, and we're about to get it. But we need so much more. And so everybody who cares about your own particular proposal, however you fared in this particular round, we need to give some serious thought to how we're going to expand the pie and how we're going to reprioritize the way that we spend money in the state, because we're going to need a bigger room in order to accommodate the growing numbers of people who are coming to understand that what has been coming for some time is landing. And we're not ready. We're getting ready, but we're not ready. And the availability of dollars is looking, from my perspective, rather scary.
That note, I will have a final comment. Just to add to what Secretary Crawford started, when this was an abstract idea, what I know from sort of being a student of cities, for decades, is times of disaster are also incredible opportunities for transformative change takes place. Usually, most great cities are built because of fire, earthquake, or major disasters or pandemics. I kind of see the CRCs in a similar way, although they may not be major transformations in the large scale. They are incredible transformations for the local communities who are going to be impacted by that. While it is a resiliency center for fire, flood, or climate-related impacts, what we heard today in the testimonies and what I anticipate these places could be is much, much more than a center for a response during disasters. I think, to add to Deputy Radhakrishna's list of comments, what we heard from testimony, some of the words, Center for Building Human Capacity, Center for Hope, Legacy Projects, Transformative, Profound Impact, Neighbors to Look Out for Each Other, a place for neighbors to look out for each other. So while the dollars might be small in some ways for these projects, or they're just concrete structures with some facilities, we can't lose sight in the potential transformative aspect of these centers and their impact and value to the local communities, whether it's rural or other places or farmlands, for people who actually need these places more than most others. So for that reason, when I said in the beginning, I'm excited about this, it's that potential transformative impact programs like this. And then I just give kudos to the staff. It can't be easy to review and approve and select in this process. What Anna didn't mention is 26 reviewers from 17 state agencies. So there's a lot of work and thought that went into making this decision. So kudos to the team. And again, the uniqueness of SGC, from lessons from the past where you couldn't fund everyone, ideas around, hey, how do we then support those who are not funded? Because almost every project that is submitted is worthy of funding. So your idea around sort of how do we support that, not just, you lost, so then move on to the next one, really working with those, that is transformative as well. And I think we need to put more emphasis on that as well, especially at a time of challenges for resources. So Again, excited about this. We have a motion from Secretary Crawford. Is there a second? Unless anyone else. Second by Vice Chair Cardenas.
We'll proceed with a roll call vote. Chair Acefa?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cardenas?
Yes.
Secretary Crowfoot? Yes. Deputy Secretary Jameson?
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Musavi?
Yes.
Deputy Director Radhakrishna?
Yes.
Chancellor Munoz? Public Member Capretz has abstained or has recused herself on this item. So I'll move to Deputy Secretary Kurgan.
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Izant.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Congratulations to the recipients. Great. We will now move to item 6, which is an action item to approve the Tribal Capacity Building Pilot Program Awards. And I would like to once again invite, as people are leaving, I would like to invite SGC team, Lynn, as well as Community Assistance for Climate Equity Program Manager, Ina Lupin, and Case Analyst, Nancy Chang, to come and present on the Tribal Capacity Building Award.
Apologies, everyone. Good afternoon, Chair Acefa and council members. My name is Ina Lupin, and I am the program manager for the Community Assistance for Climate Equity Program, as also known as CASE. Sorry. I am really, truly thrilled to be announcing this item, which I think is a really, really critical milestone for SGC, particularly around our efforts to continue to improve our services to tribes. Excuse me. Our tribal capacity building pilot program has been a long time coming and is rooted in the feedback that we've been hearing from tribes for years about the need for a dedicated capacity building program that is tailored to tribe sovereign status and unique needs. As we developed the program, we took the time to engage deeply with tribes and tribal serving organizations to ensure that the program would be as responsive as possible to the input that we received. We were deeply grateful and humbled by the time that tribes took to provide feedback on this program and to help us get it right. So with that, I will introduce our program analyst for the CASE team, Nancy Chang, who has done a really incredible job on this program. And I am just really thrilled to be making awards today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ina, for setting the stage and for the introduction. Good afternoon, Chair Acefa and esteemed council members. I'm excited to present staff's recommended awards for the inaugural round of the Tribal Capacity Building Program to you today. Next slide. The Tribal Capacity Building Pilot Program is a new grant program that provides funding and technical assistance to California Native American tribes, enhancing their staff capacity to advance tribes' climate-related work. Administered by SGC, the goal of the pilot program is to help tribes develop long-term capacity to secure funding and implement tribal-led climate solutions. The pilot program will fund staff salaries and activities that advance each tribe's climate-related work. These activities may include planning, securing funding for, and implementing projects related to climate mitigation, adaptation, and resilience. Tribal grants include 2-year grants of $150,000 to $250,000, and the technical assistance provider contract will result in a TA provider team that will support tribes throughout the grant term. Next slide. Tribes will work with a technical assistance provider and receive no-cost flexible support that will respond to each tribe's needs. The capacity building and technical assistance services offered include, but are not limited to, trainings and workshops, grant application and management support, partnership building, staff and economic development, and peer learning, where tribes will be part of a cohort facilitated by the TA provider and participate in group learning and discussions. Next slide. The pilot program's 3 core objectives are to build tribal staff capacity to advance and sustain climate action, secure funding to develop and implement tribal-led climate projects, and enhance peer learning relationships among tribes. Next slide. Considering this will be the first round of the Tribal Capacity Building Pilot Program, CASE staff conducted a robust public outreach, engagement, and research process over the past year to ensure the pilot program would be responsive to tribal needs. Next slide. As shared in the October council meeting, staff conducted outreach and engagement with tribes and tribal serving organizations to design this program in a way that would best suit tribes' needs. Our outreach is summarized on this slide and included tribal consultations, a series of 6 workshops, key informant interviews, conducting outreach at various tribal events, and sending email communications and physical letters about the program to eligible tribes. Next slide. For the pilot round of the Tribal Capacity Building Program, SGC received a total of 31 highly competitive applications. Next slide. We were significantly oversubscribed for this program, and the enormous interest in the pilot program shows the need for this kind of capacity building dedicated to tribes. The 31 applications were submitted by California Native American tribes, including 18 from federally recognized and 13 from non-federally recognized tribes. The total amount requested was nearly $7.3 million, which was 7 times the amount in our NOFA. The average amount requested was $235,000, with most applicants requesting awards at the high end of our funding range. Applicants focused on building capacity around a large range of tribal priorities that have a climate nexus, such as aquaculture and habitat restoration, cultural burning, invasive species removal, land back and rematriation, and youth education and outreach. Next slide. As mentioned earlier, staff conducted robust outreach and engagement for the pilot program, and were encouraged to see applications come from tribes across the state, covering 8 regions throughout Northern, Central, and Southern California. Next slide. To select our awardees, CASE staff organized an equitable and transparent 2-tiered review process. Next slide. The process included an interagency review panel of 26 reviewers across 17 state agencies to score applications. Each application was randomly assigned and reviewed by 5 reviewers from the interagency panel. After scoring applications, the 13 top scoring applicants were invited to finalist interviews with a panel that remained consistent for each interview. Next slide. Following finalist interviews, CASE staff selected the top scoring applicants that also reflect statewide geographic and tribal diversity for awards. Next slide. These are the 6 top scoring applicants that staff are recommending for award today. The recommended awardees are distributed across the state and include 2 federally recognized tribes and 4 non-federally recognized tribes. I'll share a brief overview of each awardee in alphabetical order in the following slides. Next slide. The first award recommendation is to Shirey Heights Indian Community of Trinidad Rancheria. Trinidad Rancheria is one of 3 California coastal tribes stewarding a designated Indigenous Marine Stewardship Area. The tribe's vision is co-managing the ancestral coastal environment and its resources alongside Native nations and U.S. governments, and ensuring the sustainability and resilience of local ecosystems and communities. With increased capacity through the pilot program, the tribe will begin the process of expanding their environmental department, developing a data-driven, community-led climate adaptation plan, establishing a science advisory board, and ensuring the long-term success of their year-old climate program. Next slide. Confederated Villages of Lashawn Nation is a confederation of tribal people from 7 tribes. The tribe's vision centers on rematriation, restoring tribal people to their rightful place in sacred relationship with their ancestral lands. Through the pilot program, the tribe aims to fund integrated cultural ecological resources management trainings for tribal members, increasing tribal capacity to advance climate-related land stewardship, a pilot cultural mapping program for sacred sites on tribally managed lands, and infrastructure to manage a tribal resource database for climate-related threats and to manage grants to sustain these projects. Next slide.
Esalen Tribe of Monterey County's mission is to preserve and protect their cultural heritage and ancestral sacred sites located within historic tribal lands of Monterey County. Through the pilot program, the tribe plans to create a tribal climate resilience task force, scaling their capacity to take on more climate resilient projects to respond to recent climate disasters, create a sustainable funding model to build capacity to pursue climate-related grants, and expand peer learning opportunities for their tribal members, specifically in the areas of cultural fire and prescribed fire training exchange opportunities. Next slide. Moortown Rancheria of Maidu Indians of California's vision is to engage in restoration work to promote culture, restore wildlife habitat, and increase climate resilience, particularly by investing in the next generation. Part of the tribe's proposed project includes establishing a climate work mentorship program for youth and young adult tribal members, which will provide hands-on climate resilience and traditional ecological knowledge land management work. Projected outcomes include restoring their ancestral landscape to be climate resilient, sparking curiosity and a sense of responsibility for tribal youth, and facilitating economic and workforce growth in their community. Next slide. Winnemem Wintu holds that restoring the Chinook salmon to their waterways is their sacred responsibility. The tribe has partnered with CDFW and NOAA on their salmon restoration work and continues to fight for a volitional passageway that would allow the salmon to come home, with their tribe guiding the restoration of the land and waterways to make this possible. Through the pilot program, the tribe hopes to develop their climate resilient eco-village through a community needs assessment to ensure their planning addresses important issues from all tribal members. Next slide. The sixth and final award recommendation is to Yak Tichu Tichu Yak Telhini Northern Chumash Tribe. The tribe envisions a future in which they have sovereign rights to manage their land and resources, and Indigenous knowledge is revived and sought after as their community works together to construct a sustainable future for their coastal ecosystems. With additional capacity from the pilot program, the tribe plans to advance several climate action projects, such as their land back projects to secure ownership of ancestral lands, creek and estuarine restoration efforts, tribal-led aquaculture and abalone restoration, and formation of an environmental and climate literacy youth program. Next slide. The total requested amount for the pilot program's 6 top-scoring applicants is just about $1.45 million. This is nearly $450,000 over our notice of funding availability amount, which made $1 million available for 4 to 6 grants ranging from $150,000 to $250,000. Due to the popularity of the pilot program, the strength of applications, and the fact that the majority of applicants requested funding amounts in the higher range, program staff utilized savings in order to fully fund all 6 recommended awardees. Next slide. Upon council approval, case staff will issue grant agreements to the 6 recommended awardees and will begin to onboard the technical assistance provider team contracted to support the awardees throughout the 2-year grant term. While we are heartened to see so much interest in the pilot program, it is unfortunate to be unable to fund so many strong applicants. In order to support applicants, we will offer debrief calls to provide feedback on their applications. With permission, we will also publish project profiles on the pilot program's webpage and are currently exploring opportunities to connect applicants to other potential funding sources. We are also exploring opportunities for future funding rounds. Next slide. With that, we would like to recommend the council approve the Tribal Capacity Building Program Pilot Round Award recommendations. Next, following Matt's reminder on public comment, we would like to turn it over to Chair Sefa. Thank you so much for your time.
Great, thank you. We'll now take public comments. Matt, do we have public comments lined up?
Yes, we have both virtual and in-person public comments on this item. We will take in-person public comments first. And we have one in-person public comment from Scott Lathrop.
Good afternoon, Council. I want to start off by saying we're just totally excited to be here today because our overall tribe is just very honored to have the opportunity to be in front of you and, of course, the recommendation of an award. First of all, my name is Scott Lathrop. I am Yak Tichu Tichu tribal member, currently serving as their Chief Executive Officer for our nonprofit. And on behalf of the Tribal Council and tribal members that may be online and especially our tribal chair, we are just very grateful and honored to be able to be part of this program. I plan to share a little story in reference to how this will really help or what it really means to our tribe. But before doing so, I just wanted to extend greetings from our chair, who was unable to make it today. She really did want to be here today, but other duties call. She was attending San Luis Obispo County Board of Supervisors meeting in reference to a critical land development project in our community. And then she'll be consulting this afternoon, tribal consultation with the California Natural Resource Agency. Maybe that's where the secretary went, I'm not sure. So she definitely wanted to be here today. With that, I wanted to kind of share something. Our overall tribe and nonprofit is currently right now 100% volunteer basis. And in our tribal area or tribal community or territory, which is San Luis Obispo, we have a tremendous amount of initiatives that are being driven by climate change, whether we're talking about primarily generation of power, looking at marine sanctuaries. We have several different projects that we have to monitor and track, which is very taxing on a very volunteer organization. And so we were really at a pivotal time this last year or so with everything coming down that we really needed to do something to actually bring on staff so that we can have people track all the work that is happening on a regular basis. Last year, we were successful in securing private dollars from the 11th Hour Project and also for the Decolonization Wealth Fund. And with this grant award, hopefully you'll approve it, will actually be the key to kick us over where we can actually go and build a staff to help us in these areas. And we're just excited to have also the support of SGC as far as technical assistance. Personally, I have met with admin and staff. I know that we have a strong partnership that is being developed today. And I can tell you that, last word, I can tell you, you will not get a stronger partner in what you want to go forward. We're here to help. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. We will move to virtual public comment on this item. I'll read the names of the first 3 individuals signed up to speak virtually. Tom Little Bear Nasson, Lucy Gill, and Jana Nason. Our first speaker is Tom Little Bear Nasson. If you are with us, if you could please raise your hand and someone will unmute your microphone.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it. Tom Little Bear Nason, Tribal Chairman, Esalen Tribe, Monterey County. We're grateful to be here today, to be honored to be selected as one of the receiving groups of this. We send prayers and gratitude to everyone, the ones who couldn't make it, didn't make the pass, didn't make the cut so far. We really need to have these dollars in our community. We represent an area of 90 miles of coastline north of the Chumash, between them and the Mamutsan people along the Big Sur coast, Carmel, Monterey area. And these dollars are going to be used in lieu of other funds that we have gotten from CAL FIRE for $3.5 million to implement a project to be able to reduce the carbon footprint, to reduce the amount of invasives that have entered into our riparian areas, to our watersheds, removing French broom, Scotch broom out of our food sources for food sovereignty that we rely upon, places for gathering, for basket making materials that are completely being run over, for repeated fire regimes in the Big Sur country that we see on the news every year coming, the floods, the washouts of our bridges. It's all part of us, part of the climate change, part of resilience. We're trying to build capacity within our tribe to be able to conduct all the work we have done. We have reached an agreement with California State Parks to co-manage over 17 parks in the Monterey Big Sur district. We are working alongside the federal government with NOAA, working with our local tribal communities to share and experience. We're working to bridge with other tribes that are currently doing cultural burning, modifications, and alignments. We're very grateful to be selected at this time. for a possible run-up for this, and truly grateful to all of you. So with that, I would like to speak on behalf of our citizens with a great big yeehaw. Thank you so much. We're so honored. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lucy Gill.
Can you hear
Lucy,
me?
are you with us? Yes, we can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Great. Thanks so much to the California Strategic Growth Council for offering this grant opportunity and for the chance to address the council today. My name is Lucy Gill, and I am a Cultural Resources Manager for the Confederated Villages of Lashon Nation and the designated point of contact for the Tribal Capacity Building Pilot Program Award. I'd like to begin by expressing my immense gratitude to the program staff for recommending Lashon Nation for this award and by urging the council to approve staff recommendations. Members of tribal leadership are also here today, illustrating the importance of this unprecedented opportunity for Lashon Nation. This grant will allow Lashon Nation to expand our ongoing work of rematriation, restoring tribal people to their rightful place in sacred relationship with their ancestral lands in the East Bay. Lashon Nation currently has capacity for only 5 staff members working 1 day per week to steward a tribal territory that includes 5 counties in the San Francisco Bay Area, including some of the most urbanized areas in the state that are also extremely susceptible to the effects of ongoing climate disaster like wildfires and sea level rise. This grant will allow us to train tribe members to fill ongoing staffing needs, implement a cultural mapping program that includes climate-related land planning on tribal lands, build the infrastructure for a database of tribal resources to protect them from climate-related threats, and develop a grant management system to sustain these projects going forward. We would also like to offer our congratulations to the other recommended grantees and other applicants, and look forward to this opportunity to build and sustain intertribal partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you. After Jane and Hassan, we'll be hearing from Dessa Drake and Jessica Gravel. Jane, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Seleki Itzu Nishishmap Jana. My name is Jana Nason, and I'm a tribal member of the Esalen Tribe of Monterey County and a humble staff member to our very small but mighty team, which is predominantly comprised of volunteers. This grant will greatly help us to be able to sustain, manage, and expand on our current and future activities around climate-related work. The Esalen Tribe currently owns and co-manages close to 20,000 acres of our ancestral lands, and that does not include the California state parks and forest lands on our ancestral lands that we are actively engaged in on the management and care of. We currently work on many projects related to watershed health, coastal erosion, fire resiliency, floodplain restoration, forest health and resiliency, removing invasive species, cultural resource protection, environmental justice, and much, much more. This grant will have a profound impact and support our capacity for those activities, as well as help to build capacity and provide training, jobs, and professional development for tribal citizens. It will also help to expand our intertribal network sharing and development of relations for climate resiliency initiatives. In the Esalen language, we say Kwel Mehe. Kwel Mehe, thank you for the opportunity to present for this grant program, and thank you for your consideration for the support in helping us to continue to serve Mother Earth in our ancestral lands. And thank you for uplifting Indigenous voices in action on climate-related projects. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next commenter is Dessa Drake. Dessa, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You may begin.
All right. Hestum neto yet posela ni Winneminibos. Hello, my name is Dessa Drake. I'm a Winnemem Wintu tribal member and the executive director of Indian Cultural Organization, which is one of our tribe's nonprofits. The Winnemem Wintu is a small, non-federally recognized tribe in Northern California. Our homeland sits at the base of Buyumpuyuk, otherwise known as Mount Shasta, and flows along the Winnemem-Waiwakit or McCloud River. This grant would have a positive impact on our tribe by allowing us to sustain the 2 currently permanent staff that we have, myself included, and I'm a fairly recent addition, having spent 20 years previously in public education. So there's a strong need to build tribal capacity through additional roles and training in grant seeking and management. We hope to hire a grant manager so that we can all work to continue to fund the important and good work we're doing to restore the Nur or salmon to the Winnemem-Waiwakit. We are hoping for a volitional passageway that will allow the Nur to bypass Shasta Dam. We are working to restore those waterways that will allow that to happen. We hope to have a tribal fishery one day on our river. We also hope to secure funding to reestablish our connection to our homeland in places where we've recently gained land back. We want to tend that land through cultural burns. We want to remove invasives and ultimately build an eco-village so our tribal members have a place to live. With the proper staff to secure this funding, we'll be able to employ and train even more tribal members. So Kichalabeskan, thank you so much for considering our project.
Thank you, Dessa. Our next speaker is Jessica Gravel. Then we'll hear from Matthew Hatcher and Kiran Kumar.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You may begin.
All right. Good afternoon, Council. Thank you all very much for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the Shirley Heights Indian community of Trinidad Rancheria. My name is Jessica Gravel, and I have the immense privilege of serving as the Marine and Climate Resiliency Program Manager for Trinidad Rancheria. And before I tell the story of Trinidad Rancheria, I just wanted to clarify that I myself am not Indigenous. This public comment has been thoughtfully drafted with the guidance of respected tribal members and our incredible Tribal Historic Preservation Officer. So if I use terms like we, us, and ours, it's meant on behalf of the tribal nation. The Trinidad Rancheria is nestled within the ancestral lands of the Yurok people, a landscape that was once teeming with the rich biodiversity of redwoods, coastal shores, and the Klamath River. Some folks call this area the Lost Coast, evoking images of an untouched, rugged shoreline forgotten by time. But to the native people, the coast is not lost. Every hill, every valley, and every stretch of sand is not only mapped in geography, but in song, story, and spirit. It's a living memory that has witnessed the ebb and flow of times, both prosperous and challenging. In recovering from near annihilation a century ago, Trinidad Rancheria is actively reviving and nurturing the cultural, spiritual, and social fabric of our community. Our continued access to traditional foods and materials for cultural regalia is a critical component to our cultural resurgence and spiritual health. Thus, the effects of climate change pose unprecedented challenges. Recognizing these challenges, Trinidad Rancheria leadership initiated our Marine and Climate Resiliency Program in late 2023. And being in its first year, the importance of securing sustainable funding, building strong partnerships, and establishing a robust framework for our program cannot be overstated. And through the support of the Tribal Capacity Building Pilot Program, we are poised not only to plan, but enact meaningful community-led strategies for adaptation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Matthew Hatcher.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matthew Hatcher, and I'm the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer here at Moortown Rancheria. And I would like to just thank the Strategic Growth Council for the opportunity to speak today. And on behalf of Moortown, we would like to thank you for this funding opportunity. It's going to strengthen Moortown in our climate resiliency battle. Is what I want to call it. It's going to help us build capacity in the areas that we're lacking. Our youth outreach is a very important thing at Moortown. It's going to get the kids up on the mountain, learning some traditional ways of land management, as well as we're going to have a GIS and TEK component that's going to be huge for us, so we can plan properly and find the right ways to do our management skills up there on the hill. We've been purchasing land through our own means, as well as trying to find grant monies to get our ancestral lands back. And this is, like I said, huge for us. This funding source, we hope to use again in the future for some more capacity building. But with that, I think that's all I have. And once again, we sure appreciate the opportunity here at Moretown. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next three commenters are Kiran Kumar, Mariah McGill, and Deja Gould. Kiran? We can come back to Kiran. Mariah McGill. Mariah. Okay, we'll
Can you
try
hear me?
Deja. Oh, yes, we can hear you. Mariah, welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm Mariah McGill and I work for Northern Circle Indian Housing Authority. We're a tribal designated housing entity that works on behalf of 9 federally recognized tribes. And I just wanted to provide comment and, hope that the Strategic Growth Council proceeds with the recommendations of Moortown Rancheria and the incredible work that they set forth to serve their population and to keep our forests safe and to protect their people. So thank you so much for your time, consideration, and I look forward to many more opportunities to work alongside SGC. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to Deja Gould. Or Deja?
Hello?
Hello? Yes, we can hear you.
Horshay Tuhi, Kanakrakat, Deja Gould. Hello, everyone. My name is Deja Gould. I am the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer for the Confederate Villages of Lishaw Nation. And I'm also the Tribal Language Keeper. I just wanted to come on here to thank everyone for this opportunity and hoping that this passes, as it will give our tribe and tribal members so many more opportunities to participate in restoration, rematriation, and just complete involvement in different things that they wouldn't be able to be involved in otherwise. So I just want to thank everybody for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Deja. We'll go back to Kiran Kumar. Kiran, are you with us?
All right, can you hear me this time?
We can.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Kiran Kumar, and I'm the Director for Climate and Disaster Resilience with Northern California Grantmakers. I want to first start by commending the Strategic Growth Council and the Community Assistance for Climate Equity program specifically for months of robust, diligent, and meaningful work to develop the Tribal Capacity Building Pilot Program and to create a streamlined and simplified application process. This pilot program represents a first of its kind flexible capacity building program using state dollars to invest in the broader needs of tribes who are leading the way around climate resilience to really resource their projects and communities in a way that makes the most sense. It's a step in the right direction away from top-down prescriptive funding and really should serve as a model in state government to directing resources around capacity building and self-determination. I also acknowledge that it's a growing trend that state funding programs, especially capacity building programs, are critically oversubscribed. We heard that earlier today. This program received an unprecedented number of applications from projects and tribes that need and deserve this kind of funding. I fully acknowledge that this is a pilot program using discretionary capacity building program dollars, which is amazing. And I also strongly encourage SGC in the state of California to continue to lean into this kind of funding and identify ways to continue growing investments in capacity building. That all being said, I'm incredibly excited to see staff's recommendations for this pilot program and to learn more about these projects from folks on the line today. I am not a tribal member myself or a stakeholder in any of these projects, and therefore can only speak to my excitement about this overall program and the awards, and ultimately what this means for California's partnership with tribes. Really looking forward to working with the SGC, the CASE team, and the council to identify ways to continue lifting up all of the applicants to this program and finding ways to continue partnering on ensuring that communities have the resources they need now to build capacity for the long term around climate resilience. Thanks so much.
Thank you. That concludes public comment on this item.
Great. Thank you for public for your participation and feedback and comments, including Kiran Kumar, who used to be with SGC, and he helped develop some of these transformative programs that SGC is implementing today. With that, I will open it up to council discussion. Before I do that, I just want to remind my colleagues that we're about 45 minutes behind. You know, having fun, time just flies. So just that caution with 45 minutes behind. With that, open it up. Secretary Isa.
Yes, I'll keep my comments brief and just to express my thanks again to staff for your work on this very exciting program. You know, Secretary Garcia is very excited, really supportive of this. There's obviously a lot of need, as we heard, for this capacity building work, and it is really transformative and unique. So thank you very much, and I will keep it to that.
First, thanks to the staff and thanks to all of the tribes who applied and who prioritized the application process. Even though it was low barrier, it is not nothing, and we appreciate all your effort there. It's very exciting, and on behalf of our agency, we're really excited to see the program come to fruition in response to tribal feedback about what is needed to advance climate-related work really holistically defined. And we're very happy also to hear how much engagement went into making sure the program is accessible to tribes all over the state and how that feedback informed program design to be meaningful for tribal participants. We want to congratulate the tribes who are recommended for award today. And then just to say over time, we remain interested, open door always, to hear from tribes on what's working well and what can be scaled on any lessons learned from this pilot. Thanks.
Secretary Jameson.
I would just add to both of those comments, just recognizing that this program helps address a tension that we're seeing between how much we're asking of tribes all the time through all our processes. We just went through this and it's ongoing government to government consultation process and listening sessions for our process to define the meaning of regenerative agriculture, which we know is really important to tribal communities and what a big lift that is. So yeah, I just really want to second Sasha's comments about people taking the time to apply in response to all that we are already asking. And thank you for SGC putting together this program and the staff for doing it so thoughtfully. So thank you.
Deputy Secretary, Director Radhakrishnan.
I'll briefly add yeehaw indeed on the range of culturally grounded projects. Although small, we believe this will help position tribes to be more competitive for a whole suite of funds, state, federal, and from SGC's beautiful suite. Particularly the strong representation of tribes who are not yet federally recognized amongst the selected applicants really reflects that core value of the program. So kudos to that. And I have a long list of suggestions that I'll submit via email to really answer the question for all of us, which again, being 7 times oversubscribed, how can we provide other applicants with the foothold to continue to begin taking action to prevent climate change? So tremendous job in supporting and creating a streamlined, flexible process to allow for that 7 times oversubscription, and we'll all work together to try and support tribes. Thanks.
Great. Anyone else? I see Deputy Secretary Schwartz.
Thank you. I'll keep my comments short, but I did just quickly want to congratulate the awardees and also really thank staff for their thoughtfulness. And in particular, I was really pleased to hear that they do plan on having follow-up discussions with the applicants who were not awarded the grants to help them understand, what they could do better and potentially help them find other sources of funding. Just to hear that they're taking that additional step was really, really heartening, because I think, it's hard to make these decisions, I understand, but it's also, I think, difficult for the applicants too, and good that they're getting this additional help. So I really want to thank staff for that.
Great. Else? So that I'll echo my colleagues' comments. This is really important program. It's a pilot. This is important. I think the incorporation of federally recognized and federally recognized, the distribution, I think all of it is pretty good. And I'll echo as Deputy Secretary Jameson's comments that how much we ask of tribes in state government for so many input. As we speak on the FIPS climate assessment, we have tribal voices represented there to actually chart the path for solutions for climate change. So this is really important capacity building program specifically focused on creating climate change experts within and capacity within tribes. So I think it's a fantastic program. With that, I'll ask for a motion and a second.
Move to accept the pilot program awards.
Great. We have a motion from Deputy Secretary Radha Krishna. Second.
I'll second that.
Deputy Secretary Jamison.
Thank you. We'll take a roll call vote. Chair Acefa?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cardenas?
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Jameson?
Yes.
Public Member Capretz?
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Kurgan?
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Azhan?
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Musavi?
Yes.
And Deputy Director Radha Krishna?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Great. Congratulations. Moving along to item 7, which is again another exciting pilot, only at SGC that this could happen. This is an action item to approve the factory-built housing pre-development pilot program guidelines. And I would like to again invite Lynn, Deputy Director of Energy Investments, Sean Kennedy, and Project Analyst Lois Kim.
Thank you, Chair. And I'll just kick us off. I'm very, very excited to bring forward the final guidelines for factory-built housing pre-development pilot program for this council's adoption. So just as a quick refresher, really, really exciting. This takes state resources and unlocks at an incredibly catalytic level, potentially hundreds of $millions that could come to the state to finance and build energy efficient factories that will produce factory built housing inside the state of California. So not only are these homes required to be energy efficient and affordable, but they also provide workforce and community benefits and advance energy resilience in the way that these factories would be constructed and operated. So the way that this is brought forward is that it is funded through technical assistance under the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program. And we did receive during the public comment process a letter from a coalition of partners that included some of our most important partners in the housing space that raised concern about the source of funding and that it would set a precedent for the use of the HSC funding. And so we put a copy in your binders. We really wanted to start by just a moment of gratitude for partners for continuing to engage in this process, for sharing feedback, for weighing in, because we just know that that's the bedrock of what makes this program work, is this collaboration, this feedback cycle, this continuous improvement. And so we appreciate the time that this coalition took to bring these comments forward to us. Ultimately, we do not agree that it sets a precedent for the use of the funding, because we think that the way that this is brought forward, it's really about a nexus point. This is about a time where catalytic dollars from the state can be expansive, can be bringing in resources that would otherwise not be used and brought forward for affordable housing and homeownership in this state. And that it addresses simultaneously climate, affordability, cost structures all at once. And we think that this further strengthens the use of these resources and also is pretty unique and very distinct in the way that this is being presented. So with that, I'm so excited to hand it over to Sean and Lois, who will walk you through the final guidelines and our recommendation.
Great. Thank you, Lynn, and good afternoon, Chair and Council members. So, as you recall, in October 2023, the SGC passed a resolution to support energy-efficient factory-built housing to meet the state's housing, climate, and equity goals. And as Lynn was just noting, the resolution complements and accelerates SGC's work to advance housing and climate goals through Council Priority 3 and the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Program, or AHSC. When applied to multifamily housing, the efficiencies of factory-built housing, which we have demonstrated here, hold great potential to lower the costs of infill and compact development and thus promote land use strategies that reduce transportation-related greenhouse gas emissions and support the implementation of regional sustainable community strategies. Despite the substantial benefits of factory-built housing, however, only 5,000 factory-built homes are produced in California every year. Through the pre-development program, SGC seeks to spur the development of California factory-built housing market, and in doing so, increase the speed and reduce the cost of meeting the state's housing and climate goals. Next slide, please. So the Inflation Reduction Act established one of the biggest economic development loan programs in United States history, granting the U.S. Department of Energy Loan Programs Office, or LPO, authority to issue over $400 billion in loans and loan guarantees. Much of this is administered through the Title 17 Clean Energy Financing Program, which provides federal financing for projects that support clean energy development and energy infrastructure. In 2023, the DOE designated SGC a State Energy Financing Institution, or SEFI. Whereas LPO-funded projects are typically subject to an innovative technology requirement, this requirement is waived for projects receiving SEFI support. So as a designated SEFI and potentially waiving LPO's innovation requirement, SGC support expands the eligibility for LPO financing and creates a pathway to support factory-built housing through federal funding that would otherwise not exist. Next slide, please. So the opportunity. Title 17 loans typically start at around $100 million, covering around 60 to 70% of total project costs, meaning that projects funded through this effort would be in the range of $150 to $200 million. As demonstrated on this slide, through an approximately 2% contribution to overall project costs, SGC can leverage Title 17 and its SEFI status to play a catalytic role in attracting federal and private sector investment to California's factory-built housing sector. I'll now pass to Lois Kim, SGC Project Analyst and Factory-Built Housing Pre-Development Program Lead, for an overview of the final guidelines.
Thank you, Sean and Council, for making time for us today. Great. So the pre-development pilot program proposes a total of $12 million to support applicants applying for Part 2 of the Title 17 program. Projects must seek to retrofit, expand, or build one or more factory-built housing manufacturing facilities in California. Applying for Title 17 can take over a year. The application has two parts. The first establishes project eligibility, and the second is for programmatic and technical evaluation. Our pre-development fund will support applicants who have already submitted Part 1 and received an invitation to apply for Part 2. This is funded through the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program, which is part of California's climate investments to reduce greenhouse gases and benefit disadvantaged communities. This program is a CCI technical assistance program. Next slide, please. On February 16th, SGC released the draft guidelines for a 30-day public comment period. During this time, we hosted 7 webinars and workshops, met with stakeholders individually, and continued to collaborate with the DOE. SGC received 7 written public comments and survey responses. SGC also convened an interagency advisory committee and consulted with staff across state departments. Through these public engagements, staff heard the need for flexibility to support diverse strategies for factory-built housing manufacturers to utilize and factory-built housing manufacturers to advance housing and energy goals, and increase coordination with partners to ensure a steady pipeline of projects. Following our public comment period, we're excited to present an overview of the final guidelines. Next slide, please. Staff proposed a grant range of $1 to $4 million to align with guidance from the LPO on what constitutes meaningful financial support. Including the SGC grant and DOE loan, we expect projects to be over $150 million. SGC will provide support for pre-development activities like environmental assessments, financial planning, and community engagement. SGC has also added market development as an eligible cost to increase the demand for factory-built homes by hosting trainings and convenings with cross-sectoral industry partners like lenders, affordable housing developers, and energy experts. The grant period will span 4 years. Due to the advantages inherent to factory-built housing, next slide, thank you. Due to the advantages inherent to factory-built housing and the factories themselves, there is a great opportunity to further multi-benefit state goals through this program. Our program will prioritize projects that advance progress towards the creation of affordable housing and increased home ownership opportunities, California's decarbonization goals, community and workforce benefits through a meaningful community benefits plan, disaster resilience through the production of housing, and SGC's intersectional mission to build healthy, thriving, and resilient communities for all. Projects will be evaluated for their feasibility and ability to meet or go beyond program standards, which will be demonstrated by the history of implementing similar projects, partnerships with community and industry stakeholders, business plans, and/or strategies to utilize innovative technologies. Today, we will share our approach to affordable housing, energy efficiency, and commuting workforce benefits in the final guidelines. Next slide, please. The pre-development pilot program builds on AHSC's affordability standards for home ownership and rental homes. The program will prioritize applicants who will dedicate at least 30% of the homes produced in the first 5 years based on the standards derived from AHSC as shown on the slides. While the program will prioritize factories that produce multifamily homes, homes are inclusive of single-family and accessory dwelling units. Our guidelines set the floor of affordability, depth, and duration, not the ceiling. We look forward to hearing and seeing proposals that can exceed our standards. Next slide, please. In California, factory-built housing is designed and constructed according to the California Green Building Standards Code, the first in the nation mandatory Green Building Standards Code. Beyond the threshold requirement to meet Cal Green and related building codes for the factory and the homes produced, applicants must also demonstrate how the project will advance California's energy efficiency and resilience goals through the materials, technologies, or design features of the factory and the homes produced. Next slide, please. SGC will support applicants develop a community benefits plan, which is required by the DOE and evaluated during Part 2. To apply for the pre-development pilot program, applicants will be evaluated by their ability to advance priorities, including conducting meaningful community and labor engagement, advancing diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, creating good quality jobs, and advancing the federal Justice 40 priorities. Next slide, please. Moving on to the application review process, the notice of funding availability will be released in early June. Applications will be accepted on a rolling basis until spring 2026 or until funds are obligated. They will be reviewed every 2 months by an interagency review committee, and applicants recommended for award will be presented to council for approval. SGC is not under obligation to award any projects. If applications do not meet the intent of the program, SGC will not recommend an award. Staff will provide feedback to unawarded applicants, and if funding is still available, they will have the opportunity to apply once more. Next slide, please. Thank you to the Department of Energy Loan Programs Office, our interagency state advisory group, and various stakeholders from industry experts to other states leading similar programs for providing their expertise to the pilot pre-development program. The Factory-Built Housing Pre-Development Pilot Program is an opportunity to proactively address our housing and climate crises by providing affordable and energy-efficient homes in a cost and time-efficient way. Through the program, we are leveraging state dollars to increase access to federal and private financing, typically not reserved for housing. We look forward to providing catalytic support to catalytic projects. Thank you, Council, for your leadership as we design this first of a nation program. We are available for questions. With that, I'll turn it to Matt for a reminder and public comment.
Thank you. For those wishing to speak on this item, you may fill out a public comment card and deposit it with the staff at the table in the back of the room. If you'd like to comment virtually, please go to sgc.ca.gov/meetings and fill out a public comment card there. I'll pass it back to the chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks to the staff. This has been a challenging theoretical exercise that's nice to see reflected in practical guidelines. I want to thank the staff for really working through this and the Department of Energy loan programs for recognizing that an energy project can have a housing output. That's been a premise of how we've built affordable housing for some time in the state of California. Energy efficient, climate resilient, and factory-built housing is built to those same standards. So we appreciate the recognition. I want to clarify too, because some of the terms that we're using today can be quite technical. Staff, you did a great job, but I just want to clarify, again, because of the comment letter, which like the executive director, I very much appreciate the expertise of the affordable housing advocacy organizations who weighed in and provided thoughts. There's no but there. It is an and. and specifically that the factory-built housing is much different than manufactured housing. And here's the technical part. So part of why we've been able to be in conversation with the Department of Energy is because the state of California applies our state building standards of Title 24, which is reflected in the guidelines, high energy efficiency for permanent homes. Those standards are above and beyond the federal standards for manufactured housing. So I just wanted to clarify, especially for other members of the council, that while it references manufactured housing, factory-built housing can go by many terms: industrialized construction and construction inside and manufactured. But this is a specific convention that we're using here, and that is factory-built homes. So really appreciate all the intention into the program and how after the draft version of the guidelines, the team iterated to go to deeper affordability and prioritize that, just as you said, Lois, as a floor, not a ceiling. So we're excited to see what any respondents come back with by way of commitments to affordability, knowing we have a very big, not just planning goal, but a big building goal in our state. We have a shortage of 2.5 million homes in our state. 1 million of those need to be affordable, and this touches all geographies. So there is a giant and critical need, not just from a planning exercise, but that we get homes right now. And that's some of the value proposition of being able to do both industrialized construction inside, always with a site-built component. I really appreciated the examples that are on the slides showing these types of developments are already in our portfolio. Something that we don't have right now in the state of California is a high number of factory-built housing factories. So we are using factory-built products, but they're coming from other states. They're coming from other countries. And some of the greenhouse gas reduction potential that we have is lost when we're transporting those mods from other states and far away. So this means if applicants can come in and be successful not only under these guidelines, if they're passed today, but also with the Department of Energy Loan Programs Office, that this can be more jobs. This is more greenhouse gas reduction. This is more certainty of this product type. And ultimately, that's for the service of Californians. So thanks. I think that's it.
It's important to make distinctions about modular, prefab, factory built. It becomes really complex, but I think the crux of this and the potential transformative impact of this or multi-benefit impact of this is that one, it is controlled, it's factory built, but we have to put the guardrails as well. It is critical that location and distance of transportation of materials is important. So locating the factories in California ideally would be the most advantageous to address not only the climate part of it, but the other multi-benefit of the fact that it is job creating, it's transforming that aspect of it from the economy and climate and all that. But having said that, I mean, there's no question about the idea of innovation in the building construction is critical. And can't think of any other place than SGC where you pilot innovative ideas. It may not always work. That's why it's a pilot. If it doesn't, you move on to something else. But it is an important, worthwhile effort to actually look into that as part of the menu of options to advance or make it easier to build. Obviously, the construction of that alone is not going to make housing affordable. It's all other menu of choices that we constantly look to support to make that difference in what is needed to actually pencil housing. And this innovation to me is not just about the construction, but your innovative idea to actually combine it with the DOE resources. So that connection is critical as well. So for that reason, I'm really excited about it in terms of its potential, and would definitely, for the guidelines, of course, the guidelines can also be improved over time. So that's Deputy Director Radhakrishnan.
Thank you, Chair. So I spoke with Secretary Galley on the way over, and he really supports the multiple options for speed and efficiency. California's housing crisis is a supply and affordability crisis, and you're helping address both of that. This is really about the strategic in the Strategic Growth Council. So if we are going to reallocate some funds from affordable housing and sustainable communities to draw down those federal DOE funds, let's get the most out of it. So a couple words in the guidelines included multifamily and community benefit. And we really want to thank the partnership for continuing to raise that floor to 30%. We see some additional benefits from it. So there's the indirect means of multifamily units and affordable units to address transportation related greenhouse gases by supporting infill and compact land use patterns and decreasing the dependency on driving. So that's another way that we're solving for multiple problems through this innovation and drawing down funds. And we really hope to see those commitments thoroughly vetted in the 2-year process by examining applicants' business models. Lois and Sean have done an excellent job of already having those conversations, and there's several years to continue it. So in summary, when California sets high standards, zero emission vehicles, fuel standards, factories in Detroit respond immediately. So let it be a loud and strong signal that we also support affordability in a major way. You heard the math from Deputy Secretary Kurgan about what's needed, and also on supporting the infill and the multifamily benefit in ongoing points for prioritization and floors that we may set. So thanks so much. We're really excited about this.
Great. Okay, with that, could we have a motion to, public comments? Sorry, Matt.
You're welcome to take a motion before public comment, but we can also proceed with public comment. We do have 1 in-person public comment and 8 signed up for virtual public comment. Our in-person public commenter we will take first. That's Arnab Paul.
Thank you. So I'm a consultant to the U.S. Department of Energy Loan Programs Office. To introduce myself, prior to my time at DOE, I was a senior staffer in the U.S. Senate, where I negotiated many of the key provisions to the Inflation Reduction Act, and I spent time as a staffer to the California Air Resources Board. While the DOE cannot specifically endorse any specific programs or policies here today in California, I would like to briefly speak to what our analysis shows this pre-development grant program will do for factory-built housing here in California. The hardest part of development is getting started. The program will give manufacturers of factory-built housing the first dollars they need to build facilities in this capacity for factory housing in the state. For grantees that meet our requirements through the energy efficiency measures, they will have the opportunity to apply into our program, which has over $200 billion in loan authority. As an estimate, $1 from this program could lead to $50 in investment. Could. $12 million could lead to $600 million in investment. This is precisely the type of program that equips developers with the resources to access our loans and the IRA. I will conclude on a personal note by saying that I work with agencies across the country, state, local, federal. The folks at SGC are some of the finest, hardest working, dedicated public servants that I have worked with. Thank you all.
Thank you. We'll move to virtual public comment. We'll begin with commenters Richard DeGorder, Heather Zamansky, and Anthony Carroll. If you could raise your hands, and Richard will take your comment whenever you want to begin. Richard, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You may begin your comment.
All right, wonderful. My name is Rick DeGorder. I'm the Director of Business Development for Net Zero Development, which is the parent of Pinnacle LGS, Light Gauge Steel. We're unique in that we're experienced in this factory-built housing arena. We have 18 years of experience. Our factory was in Downey, California. We're moving it to a larger facility in Palmdale and intend to build many others around the state. We've installed over 800 of our patented machines in over 80 countries, and we understand the reality of this industry. We're innovative. As I said, we have patented technology, which enables the faster construction of multifamily structures up to 16 stories tall that are healthy, intelligent, environmentally sustainable, stronger because we build from steel, not wood. Wood is limited to approximately 5 stories tall and attainable. Our cost is about 70%, 50 to 70% of conventional construction. We're focused on affordability, energy efficiency and resilience, and scale. All of our projects will have affordability goals and meet your criteria. We're proposing to develop a network of multiple factories across the state to meet the $150 million threshold of the Title 17 program. We're very focused on capacity building, particularly for disadvantaged communities. We've engaged sustainability advisors, a public benefit corporation, Heather will speak following my comments, to craft and administer the community benefits plans and to build capacity and support disadvantaged communities, including working with California tribes, including the Tule River tribe and many others. And Heather will discuss this further. This program is important to us because it will allow us to further scale our application to meet that 150 million or more, and to approach tribes and others to aggregate and expand our application. So,
thank you, Richard. Your 2 minutes have run.
Okay,
May
thank
we have
you.
your final thoughts?
No, I think that this is a wonderful program. It's very beneficial. It will create a number of factories around the state, and we think that we support all of your goals.
Thank you. Our next comment is from Heather Szymanski. Heather. Heather, are you with us?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. You may begin.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Richard. Good afternoon, members of the California Strategic Growth Council, CSGC, and all participating. This is inspiring and well needed. My name is Heather Szymanski, representing Sustainability Advisors, SAC, a benefit corporation based in Arizona and working nationally. I'm an energy auditor and member of our executive team focused on business and community development, experience as a nonprofit executive director in green building and energy efficiency. SAC partner Kirsten Shaw, our president, serves as an energy efficiency expert for the state of Arizona's Office of Resiliency. We and others at SAC have worked at high levels in sustainability for energy-related training, tribal train the trainer programs, projects, and community development. Net Zero Partners and SAC are excited to be working closely with the Tule River tribe that has already done so much advancing economic development. They propose to build a zero energy ready home factory based in part on an in-depth study, feasibility study that CSGC completed already. This innovative project embodies this forward-thinking vision this council seeks to fund. It helps to solve their challenges, and they are eager to share solutions with others. Net Zero is also developing affordable multifamily communities around California to help disadvantaged communities. To help advance replication of this pilot project, we request you participate in educational presentations with the grant winners. We also request opportunities for fellows, interns, and tribal workforce members to spend time with you, exploring additional resources to incorporate into winning grant projects. SAC is creating and implementing parts of the community benefits plans for this innovative proposal. We are working closely with Dennis Ickes, the CEO of the Tule River Economic Development Corporation, for whom SAC has already helped secure a Department of Energy Clean Energy Fellow for unique manufacturing synergy between their biomass plant and housing plant and development for innovative and efficient carbon negative communities, helping to meet California's climate, housing, and energy goals. Thank you for your time and consideration on behalf of the Tule River Tribal Nation. We appreciate all that you're doing. It is so needed.
Thank you, Heather. After Anthony Carroll, we'll hear from Matt Smith and Joanne Price. Anthony, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Please begin your comment.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Anthony Carroll, and I'm here on behalf of the 37,000 men and women of the Northern California Carpenters Union. Factory-built housing is one tool in the toolbox for producing more affordable housing in California, which we desperately need. This pilot program creates an opportunity for recipients to leverage a modest funding commitment into significant support from federal sources. Along with the time and climate advantages of factory-built housing, all of which are important for building more affordable housing, another key benefit is the possibility for this work to be done with unionized labor. This helps ensure workers the fair pay and fringe benefits that are often unavailable on residential construction projects. We would also like to thank staff for engaging with us during the comment period. We appreciate that the draft guidelines have loosened what had originally been rigid restrictions on the geographic location of projects, which now allow for greater flexibility when putting these funds to use. For these reasons, the NorCal Carpenters Union strongly supports this pilot program, and we ask that you approve the final draft final guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next commenter is Matt Smith.
Hi,
Matt, are you with us?
can you hear me?
I can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Awesome, thank you. I want to apologize ahead of time for any background noise. I got a tired and hungry 6-week-old with me here that I'm trying to rock to sleep. So, Matt Smith with Factory OS. Factory OS, we're a factory-built housing company. We're based in Northern California. We employ more than 200 union members in partnership with the Northern California Carpenters Union. We have built nearly 3,000 homes over the past six years, of which nearly 90% are affordable and permanent supportive housing. Would like to just commend the Strategic Growth Council and all of its staff for envisioning this pilot program and express my support for this as a big step towards leveraging federal dollars to help drive innovation that can help meet the housing and climate needs in our state. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Matt. After Joanne Price, we'll hear from Nathaniel Hansen and Tyler Pullen. Joanne, are you with us?
Okay, I am with you. Can you hear me? Sound check.
We can hear you. You may begin.
Okay, good afternoon. I am so glad to see this item under consideration. My name is Joanne Price. I'm co-founder and chief real estate officer for Dignity Moves, a Silicon Valley startup that was born out of the pandemic. And we're catalyzing the movement to end unsheltered homelessness and bring scalable solutions to end the suffering of our most vulnerable neighbors. And our innovative approach to building interim supportive housing demonstrates that fast, cost-effective, and scalable solutions are possible. We combine borrowed land with prefabricated, relocated modular units and emergency housing exemptions. And we're building communities that offer private, dignified, interim supportive housing for a fraction of the cost and time of traditional solutions. Like since our conception 2 years ago, we've just surpassed our 1,000th unit, and using modular factory-built housing has been critical, absolutely critical in meeting that need. And I think the industry needs as much help as possible to ensure the affordable housing that we build today is equitable and can meet the efficiency standards on par with some of our state's global headquarters. So I do hope that this item is approved and passed today. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Joanne. Our next speaker is Nathaniel Hansen. Nathaniel, are you with us?
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You may begin.
Yes. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, council members. My name is Nate Hansen. I'm the Government Affairs Manager and on the development team with Related California's Northern California Affordable Division. Related California is one of the most active developers of affordable and mixed income housing in the state. I'm speaking today on behalf of Ann Silverberg, our CEO of the Northern California Division here at Related, to voice Related California's support for the SGC's proposed factory-built housing pre-development pilot program. In our experience, we believe that our ability to utilize factory-built housing allows us to move the needle in our efforts to deliver high-quality, affordable housing quickly and at a reduced cost. We are supportive of all efforts to support the burgeoning factory-built housing ecosystem here in our state. It's a unique advantage that our state has. And we believe that the factory-built housing pre-development pilot program would contribute to these overall goals. We appreciate your consideration of our remarks and are hopeful that you will support efforts to create the factory-built housing pre-development pilot program to meet the state's housing, climate, and equity goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Our last speaker on this item is Tyler Pullen.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. You may begin.
Great, thank you. My name is Tyler Pullen, and I conduct research at UC Berkeley's Turner Center for Housing Innovation, which is a research center focused on a range of housing issues, from land use and zoning reform to addressing homelessness, and exploring the nexus between housing, climate change, and construction innovation. My aim today is to share relevant insights from ours and others' research on the effects of factory-built housing as a sustainable solution to California's housing shortage. Based on our research reports, specifically strategies to lower cost and speed of housing production and scaling up offsite construction in Southern California, on certain projects and with complementary interventions, factory-built housing can reduce construction timelines by up to 30% and help reduce the development costs for housing by 10 to 20%, allowing existing public housing funds to stretch further. Additional research from National Renewable Energy Lab and other national labs further demonstrates that factory-built housing can simultaneously improve energy efficiency and reduce material waste in the construction process while minimizing the cost impact compared to stick-built methods. As such, factory-built housing is not a silver bullet, but a critical piece of the housing and climate puzzle in California. This initiative represents an investment of $12 million of the ASEC budget and can support factories' access to hundreds of millions of additional dollars in federal DOE funding. It is beneficial to these companies that SGC has designed the eligibility and application scoring to closely match the DOE funding requirements to ease their access to more substantial funding sources. Without this program, it is possible that under-resourced and time-constrained factories may be unlikely to access the DOE funding, which could otherwise unlock additional affordable housing supply in the near and long term. Thank you.
That concludes public comment on this item.
Great. Thank you all for your feedback and comments. We will now, and thank you, Sean and Lois, for incredible research and proposal on the guidelines. Really great work. With that, can I have a motion and a second to approve the factory-built pilot guidelines?
Proud to move.
Deputy Secretary.
Second.
Great. Second.
Take a roll call vote. Chair Acefa?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cardenas?
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Jameson?
Yes.
Public Member Capretz?
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Kurgan?
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Musavi?
Yes.
Deputy Director Radhakrishna?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Congratulations, team. Last item on our agenda is taking public comments for matters not on the agenda. Unfortunately, this is not a forum for dialogue with the council members. Any questions raised by the public during this item cannot be substantially addressed or discussed at this meeting. But any required follow-up can be directed to SGC Executive Director Lynn Bangkok-Libert for follow-up answers and any connections relevant to staff. So with that, Matt, we'll open it up for public.
We received no request for comment on matters not on the agenda.
Great. Well, pretty productive day. I know we're an hour late, but I think worthwhile. Again, I'll thank staff, SGC staff, again, incredible work and incredible discussion. And thank again public who came to provide feedback in all of the items. So with that, I will adjourn the meeting now. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Me too, yes.